Now we're live. This is my partner in crime, Smug Capitalist. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. I've been here before. I think anyone that'll have heard of me probably has already known me or something. But yeah, I'm just a smug capitalist. Anything that there is to know about me, you'll probably find out in the podcast anyway.
Yeah,
And that's pretty much it. We're going to be talking about gun control within the United States and the UK, United Kingdom.
yeah.
See how
Uh,
that goes.
so what's the Tories' stance on gun control?
I think the general stance on gun control, no matter what the government is pretty much the same. We don't have it's never a campaign run to bring forward guns.
No,
Like in America, you'll have the Republicans that are pro Second Amendment, pro gun, like owning a gun, and then you have the Democrats, which I believe are like anti Second Amendment and anti gun control. Like, no, I mean anti owning a gun. Like they're more for regulation. Um, Here it's more we don't really talk about it. It's never said on a campaign or anything like that. Like it just happens. Like we have guns, but no one really talks about it.
oh, it sounds like it's like a taboo issue in the UK. Guns. Yeah.
No, it's not really seen as an issue. It depends where you go in the United Kingdom, really, because the only place in the United Kingdom that you can legally have a personal carry handgun or something like that is Northern Ireland. In Scotland, England, and Wales, it's you can't have a handgun or you can't have a gun on you as you're walking around.
Oh, um, for gun control in the U.S. it also depends where you at. And it varies to state to state. Like say the state of Texas, you're pretty much allowed to open. You're pretty much allowed to carry your gun anywhere that you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I knew about that. I know that there is a thing where California has the hardest like gun laws, yet Chicago has the worst gun crime.
yeah.
Something like that. I don't know. I know certain statistics, but I only really I think I know more about British gun laws than American gun laws. But maybe you could teach me. Like maybe are you pro or are
Uh,
you anti-gun?
I'm pro gun mostly because I think the best way I think the best way to prevent crimes is having an armed civilian in the premises or area.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I personally I am for guns. Like I am pro gun control.
No.
Um,
What's your stance?
no, I mean my stance on it is I think everyone should be able to own a gun because I see it as an equalizer. I see it as like if a woman is about to get raped by five men and she pulls a gun out, she's no longer about to get raped. Now, that's how I see it in the most extreme forms. But here in England now, you have to have a reason to own a gun. You can't just own a gun for the sake of owning a gun like in America. So, like, you have to be part of a shooting club, or you have to be a farmer. Um, they're pretty much the only reasons that are off the top of my head. And our police carry guns as well. Certain police,
Yeah.
but that's more to do with like the terrorist attacks that have been happening. It is kind of scary though because every so often, probably like every half a year, um our um our what's it called? You know this the panic level or whatever it's called.
Panic level.
Yeah. Oh, what's the panic level called? It's not called the panic level. It's like when we're at most risk of a terrorist attack, and then
I
it's
think
like, oh,
I think I know what you're talking about. I don't
yeah,
think.
but when that gets critical, so when that's at the highest, that's when we enforce armed police on the streets and at all the train stations and all the airports. They'll just be like full of armed police.
Yeah. Hmm.
I'm gonna Google that. I can't remember what it's called now. It's I think it is the panic level. Uh, I don't know. Um,
Or terrorist threat.
the terror threat. It could be.
Hmm.
I think it is called the terror threat. The terror threat level. Yeah, it's called the terror threat level. And that when that gets raised to critical, um, you'll see armed police all over all the main cities and stuff like that.
Yeah. Huh. That's
But yeah, there are a lot of misconceptions as to armed police.
hmm, the just yeah here over or across the pond is that gun the debate of more or less gun regulation is kind of big ever since that Las Vegas and that recent Texas shooting a couple weeks ago. Just no.
Yeah, I think that's the problem though, because places like events like the Las Vegas terrorist attack or whatever you want to call it. I don't think it was. It's not a terrorist attack, is it? No, it's not. The Las Vegas attack. Um, I think that Democrats tend to use that as an excuse as to like push their gun control laws. Like Hillary Clinton immediately went on Twitter to say stuff about guns that wasn't true. Like she was saying, like, imagine if he had a suppressor,
Yeah.
and like, and then even I know a British person that doesn't own a gun knows that an automatic weapon can't have a suppressor because it will just overheat and melt.
Yeah.
Well, at the rate he was firing them.
Yes. That's kind of like a big problem with politicians who kind of push a gun control narrative. Plus, that suppressed also yeah, many people even in mainstream media tends to like say silencer. Technically there's no such thing as a silencer. I kind of glad you used the correct term, suppressor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna claim to know um a lot about guns. I know what you probably hear in the news and stuff like that, and I've looked up certain things that doesn't sound right to me. But yeah, I'm definitely for pro guns. The thing that the liberals are trying to push right now is that the semi-automatic weapons. They say that the founding fathers never incorporated that guns could be this um like advanced or something like that.
according to people like Stephen Crowder, they were fully aware that there were automatic guns at their
Have
time
you
when they wrote the Second Amendment.
have you seen that piece that Stephen Crowder did about how the founding fathers were like, oh, of course we didn't know about the I was laughing so hard. He was like, of course they didn't know about the gun. Like, of course they won't make guns more advanced in the future, and it's just absolutely stupid.
Yeah, just yeah, it's sort of weird. People like Noam Chomsky said that that the guns should be regulated and sort of misinterpreted the Second Amendment, and he's a like gringo supposedly.
Yeah, like I said, I don't really understand why people would be anti-gun in a place like America because near enough everybody owns one. when you've got places like England, I can understand why people don't want guns in a country that's really hard to get a gun in. But I don't see the defense in a place like America, where I could probably go to America and be within 5 feet of a gun, like pretty much all times in a city. I'd want a gun myself to protect myself, because I know that if I'm going to get into a fight, it's not just going to be a fight. He's going to be able to pull a gun on me, and I want one as well. Whereas if you get into a fight with someone in England, they're not. They're the 9 times out of 10 they're not going to have a gun.
Yeah, gun. Like you said before, guns are really like a great equalizer. Yeah.
But yeah, so you can own guns in England, but it's very specific. We can own rifles, but we can't own pistols.
Yeah. Can you like? Do they have like a open carry, or I mean concealed carry in England? Are you allowed to carry?
No, only in Northern Ireland,
No.
because of the tensions are over there. These are the prohibited guns in. So this is a list of the. It's not a very big list, but this is a list of the prohibited guns within the United Kingdom and England, obviously. Fully automatic or burst fire weapons, semi-automatic or pump action rifles that fire center fire ammunition. Example: the Colt AR-15 and the L1A1. Cartridge ammunition handguns, regardless of caliber. Firearms disguised as another item. Example: walking sticks, mobile telephones, and etc. Rockets and mortars. Uh, any weapon of whatever description designed or adapted for the discharge of any noxious fluid, gas, or other thing, such as stun guns, electric shock devices, or CS gas or OC spray. Cattle prods would not generally be included, but it would depend on the type. So yeah, we have very, very big gun laws. In Northern Ireland, more than 100,000 people own a firearm, um, having more than 100,000 people in Northern Ireland own a firearm, and 380,000 of them are guns owned by them. So out of 100,000 people, they have 380,000 guns in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, that's hmm. If my memory is correct, I think only like 3% of Americans actually own a gun. At most, and most
Really?
gun, yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah,
I know that 1 in every 38 American lives in New York. That's pretty much the only statistic I know.
yeah.
So would you lower the regulation for guns in America, or would you keep it the same, or would you add more guns to the ban list?
I probably try to lower the guns. Guns are getting more expensive now, due to more regulations.
Yeah, because under my understanding, it is legal to own an automatic weapon in North America. You can actually get an automatic weapon, but the license costs about $50,000 or something.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, you have to, man. You have to get if you want to buy an automatic weapon, you have to get you gotta pay one. It's really expensive. I think you gotta get fingerprinted by the FBI, and also I think you also has to register your automatic weapon to your local police department, or whatever.
Yeah, that happens here as well. It's a bit further though here. If you own a gun here, you have to like obviously. Oh, sorry. You have to give your information. You have to give them your fingerprints. You're not allowed to be a criminal. You're not allowed to be a psycho. You're not allowed to have a mental health condition. The local authorities actually have to come round to your house to assess where you'll keep the guns, and they have to agree to where you'll be keeping the guns, and you have to they have to like make sure that they're going to be secured in a locked place.
Yeah. Hmm. This is my friend CL Drift. So, how are you, mate?
Is he setting up his microphone?
I think he is. Uh,
But yeah, where's he from? Is he from America?
yeah, he's from America.
Oh, okay. What state are you from?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm from Michigan, but I live in North Carolina.
Oh, okay. What's the gun laws like in your?
Pretty decent, actually. They pretty decent. You can pretty much I think there's more regulation on handguns. I think you have to go. I think you just have to get permission from your local police department. Although I think they just repealed that law. So yeah, North Carolina
It
got
is
pretty.
kind of. Sorry, Karen.
North Carolina got pretty. They got pretty lax gun laws. So does Michigan as well.
Um, carry permits required. You don't have to have a carry permit for a long gun in North Carolina, but you do for a handgun, apparently.
Yeah.
So, North Carolina is a shall issue state for concealed handgun permits. The individual must inform a law enforcement officer when addressed he or she is carrying a concealed handgun.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Just it seemed like Europe got pretty tight gun laws. Oh, can you tell me why? Smug capitalist.
Well, we've never really had them, if that makes any sense. They've always been owned by the government, and see, this is the weird thing about it is when you've got a place like the USA where it's a complete democracy. I can understand the worry of say that Democrat being or that Democratic leader being um totalitarian and like becoming another Hitler for example. But here we've got like the Queen, who we know is our authoritarian leader kind of thing. I know we have our government, so she doesn't completely have all power. If she tried to become a totalitarian leader, she'd lose her position instantly. Like the government would just overrun her, and then we'd just be a democracy like America. But we are a democratic monarchy, which means the Queen doesn't have any power. She just owns it, and then we do what we have to do on that land. But if she deems that something needs to change within the government, it's under her power to be able to do so. Also, going to war and electing the new prime minister and all that. That's all decided by the Queen.
Yeah.
So we don't really need guns to stop government tyranny because we have our Queen to do that. We've got the one and the other. So if the Queen became tyrannical, the government would stop her, and if the government became tyrannical, the Queen would stop her.
Yeah, at least you got that check and balances with your governmental system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hang on, I got something here. In 1919, the British government, in fear of communist insurgents and domestic and foreign anarchists, passed its first sweeping anti-gun laws. So it was like it. So in 1919, it was to stop communism from becoming uh, a thing in England. So they took our weapons off us.
What I heard, that Britain is getting more increasingly in favor of socialism.
In a sense, I don't think anyone here really knows what socialism is that votes for it. If I'm honest, there are obviously a select few, but
No.
it just goes to show because we have this thing where it's like let me explain this. We have our government, and then you have to elect that government, but then we also have mayors, and we have to elect the mayors as well, the mayors. Um, so what happened was all of the mayors, like in my city, we elected a right wing mayor, we elected a conservative mayor, but then when the general elections came for the government, it was almost all left wing Labour that got voted in. So my theory is that the students all voted in favour of left wing government because the left wing government promised that he'd abolish student loans.
Oh.
So that's why I say people don't understand what true socialism is. They just want free education, like after high school.
Oh man, free whatever happened. And the truth is, college really is not that expensive, you know.
This is
Oh,
my thing. This is my thing though. Is that you can get a student debt. You can. I know that you could. It's called like student debt, and that I don't know if that's how it works in America. Like you go to college, you get student debt, and then you pay it off later on in life.
yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's not an actual debt. Like a bailiff has never come to your house to repossess your things because of a student debt.
Just you
So
can't
there's never any reason to fear a student debt. So people go on like, oh, but like we are like $50,000 in debt, and I'm like, you're not $50,000 in actual debt. You're $50,000 in student debt. It doesn't even matter.
just it doesn't really look good on your credit though. Yeah,
Like no, but most credit companies will see it as student debt, and they won't bother. Like they won't mind because it's only student debt. Like actual debt is the thing.
oh, that's pretty interesting. What you said.
Yeah, it's like if anyone ever turns around to you and says like, "Oh, I don't like the fact that I'm going to be in debt," just turn around to them and say, "But you're not going to be in actual debt. You're going to be in student debt. Like you'll never get a bailiff come to your house to repossess your stuff because of your student debt, and you are getting something out of it that you will pay back later on in life." Like if you turn around to him and say, oh, like so you want the taxpayer to pay for it, and then I say, okay, so in 20 years, are you okay paying for that generation's student, like for that generation's education? And they'll say yeah. And then you'll say, so why not just pay your own now, and they can pay their own now at a later on date when you're actually earning a credible amount of money,
Mm.
because they don't take it off that they don't. It's not like a loan shark. Like they act as if it's a loan shark that the government's going to come and break their legs because they can't pay it back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And also, after 25 years, I think you don't even have to pay it off. It just gets wiped off your name. If it takes 20 after you've had your student loan, 25 years later, if you still haven't paid it off, it just gets discredited and you don't have to pay it back.
Huh. I guess
That's
do.
how it is here. But then that's what I mean. Like Jeremy Corbyn turns around and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna make like education free," and I'm like, "It's technically already free. You don't have to pay it back until you're like making a substantial amount of money a year, and you only have to pay like what 10. You have to pay like £10 a month. It's
Uh,
it's it's a stupid argument.
I think student debt is definitely different here in America
But
because
that's the main reason I think that people voted for Jeremy Corbyn and socialism. But that little fucker, get this right, you know Donald Trump tweeted like 2 days ago some Britain First videos about some like Islamists being pushed off a building and stuff.
yeah,
Um Jeremy like he tweeted he retweeted the leader of the British Britain First, which is like a far right like Christian political group in Britain. Donald Trump retweeted the deputy leader of that, and she posted videos of like Muslims pushing gay people off the top of buildings. Donald Trump retweeted that, and the world went into meltdown because of it apparently. And Jeremy Corbyn, the socialist leader in Britain at the moment, he tweeted after going, "I hope that our government, um, I hope that our government condemns the acts of Donald Trump posting such far right tweets." And then when Venezuela had that thing going on a few months back where it went totalitarian and their leader became like an arsehole pretty much, and he arrested two democratic leaders in the night and did all that. Like everyone turned around to Jeremy Corbyn and said, "Are you going to condemn that?" And he wouldn't. He wouldn't condemn it,
yeah.
and that really fucked me off. That did.
Uh, is
Is
that
your is your friend in yet?
I think yeah.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my headset. For a moment, it said my mic set wasn't working, so that's why I wasn't talking much.
It's working
We,
now.
You can hear me now, right?
yeah, we hear you loud and clear.
All right, good.
So,
Well, I don't know about UK because I know earlier you said America's a democracy. Well, technically, we're considered a federal republic.
What's a federal republic? I actually don't know.
the way the founding fathers set our government up, we're pretty federal. We're pretty like a federalist based government. You know what federalism is?
Federalism?
Yeah.
No.
Can you help me explain, soldier?
Yeah, if you want to.
Can you explain to them what federalism is?
Well, federalism, it's, like if the federal government, the president, judicial, legislative, all that stuff. All that, like, federal is like the main, it's like basically like the country, country government, the government of the nation and in the United States.
I thought that was democracy. Or is that a type of democracy?
Well, I could explain the differences, but it would probably take me a long time because like everybody's got their own version. But you could say easily that democracy is basically where, like, for example, when it comes to voting, democracy is all about what the majority votes for, whereas in republics have electoral colleges.
Federalism.
Well, we're not the only one. I mean, I think Germany's a federal republic, but they're different than us. They have a
Okay, I think I understand now. I just read up a little bit about it, and it says here, federalism is a mixed or compound mode of government combining a general government with regions governed. So I think it's like a democracy would be one person owns the whole of the United States and and controls everything. But you also have leaders of each state.
yeah. We got
Okay, I get it.
we got states' rights, local rights, and county rights and stuff like that.
Yeah, because we don't have that. We have mayors, but they're not. They're not like they haven't really got any authority. We class ourselves as a democratic monarchy.
Okay.
because we have the Queen.
Like I live in Ohio, and we can make up our own certain kind of rules depending on our constitution. And like in North Carolina, he can make his state can make up certain laws depending on the constitution.
Mm.
Although I think some of the laws that the coastal states make are pretty ridiculous.
The difference between your system and our system is that the United Kingdom is split into 650 different areas,
Yeah.
and then each area, they have a member of Parliament that will run for that seat within the House of Commons. So me personally, I don't. No one votes for the Prime Minister. We vote for our that local member of Parliament, and then the majority, the government, like say the Conservatives or Labour or the Liberal Democrats.
UKIP.
Say that again.
Even UKIP.
Yeah, even UKIP. So if UKIP chose to run in certain seats within the UK, it like the person with the most seats out of that 650 becomes the new government for the next 5 years.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
It sort of does. In a way.
So yeah, but then if that Prime Minister wants to create a new law, she has to then get a majority vote out of them 650 seats within the House of Commons.
Okay.
Because that's our government. That's got nothing to do with the Queen. Also, a little fact as well: our House of Commons, the Queen or any member of the royal family isn't allowed to enter the House of Commons. They're not allowed in there because it's got nothing to do with them.
What does the royal family do in general anyway? Because I got another friend who lives in the UK, and he's telling me he doesn't see the point in having a monarchy or a royal family.
It's very. We do need a royal family because we have other what are they called? Like we have Commonwealth countries which are still part of England, but they're not part of England. But the Queen still owns them, which is why the Queen's face is still on Canadian dollars.
Okay.
And Australian dollars. So if we went to war, like they'd be on our side. But that's why we need the Queen, because without her we'd just be the UK.
I don't think I ever remember hearing about Canadian forces in Iraq. I know like Canadians and Australians went to Afghanistan, but I just think the Brits themselves.
Oh no, I mean if someone went to war with us.
Oh. Well,
like we only went to Iraq to back America. But Canada doesn't have to like follow suit because if we choose to like send our troops somewhere, we don't have to send Australian troops or Canadian troops. But if anyone in the world went to war with us, then we'd have Europe that would help us. We'd have Canada, we'd have Australia, we'd have Jamaica. I really can't remember the rest of the Commonwealth, but yeah.
But can these countries decide to go to war by themselves? Like, for example,
oh yeah, no, they're their own government, but that's the kind of thing. Like we are our own government. So we've got the House of Commons, as you've got the House of Commons in Australia, you've got the Parliament in Canada. They're their own governments, but the figurehead above them is the Queen.
Because I noticed that during the Vietnam War, there was no British there, but the Australians and in New Zealand, they were there.
Oh yeah, they can do that. They are their own government. They'll do anything to like help themselves.
Okay. Well, I mean, like, Britain was far away from Vietnam, so,
We're also far away from Vietnam as well.
I know.
We also have Anguilla, Bermuda, British Antarctic Territory, British Indian Ocean Territory, the Cayman Islands, the Falkland Islands, Gibraltar, Pitcairn Island. We just have a load of islands, pretty much.
I know. And you have the Bahamas, I think.
We technically owned Hong Kong until 2000 and something.
No,
1997.
yeah,
I think.
1997.
Yeah, we owned Hong Kong.
Do you remember Scotty saying that they were closing the wealth gap for the welfare reforms soldiers?
Yeah, just right before they gave it back, he said something about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think they're better under British rule, Hong Kong under Hong Kong? You know,
What do you mean?
like, do you think they were better off if they're still owned by the British?
Probably, but still, if it were up to me, like I said, it's not my land, but if it were up to me, I think Hong Kong should just be its own independent nation, like Singapore or something.
A city state?
Yeah, pretty much like that. I think they're capable of handling themselves.
Yeah.
The only problem is they're probably going to need some type of foreign defense force, because they are small, and I don't think the communists in Beijing would just allow that if that ever happened. Like even like let's say like an American Revolution style incident happened in Hong Kong. I don't think the communists in Beijing are just gonna like walk away and be like, okay. They're probably gonna want to come back eventually and try again. So yeah, they're not that I'm advocating we go to war, but I'm just saying like if they're able to set up a resistance movement to drive like full communist control out, then yeah, they're probably gonna need a foreign defense force, like just passing by every now and then just to check on them, being like, hey, how you guys doing? How's your defense going? Okay, we'll be back to check on you later.
Oh man. Hey, Jim Jesus.
How's it going?
I'm doing well.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think the Chinese are going to be messing with Hong Kong because that's their moneymaker.
I don't know, dude. They pretty much cracked down on opposition, like in Venezuela.
It's true, but maybe in economic stuff, they're gonna be a little bit shy on doing anything. I know there's been a lot of like protests in Hong Kong.
I don't know. Just depends on how much the nationalists get support, because like there's like these small right wing nationalist groups in Hong Kong that been gaining support for the past couple of years. I mean, they're still a small group, but ever since the arrest of like their leaders last year, they were kicked out of the parliament or whatever. They kind of got a lot of support for that. So I'm just saying, I don't know. We don't know.
Who knows?
It could go either way. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Hey, you want to move off? We want to switch to a different topic now. Our first topic were about guns.
Yeah.
Actually, Jim Jesus, what's the gun laws like in Nevada?
They're pretty lax. They're probably one of the most lax. They weren't for a while, and then we just recently they started allowing less control over gun sales. So we're up there with like Wyoming. You can conceal carry. I think there's open carry. I know on the Strip they're really not a big fan of people having guns or knives, and I think this. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know, but I've heard that the actual Strip itself, the street that runs up and down the Strip, is pretty much privately owned. So they can kind of say.
I'd have thought that it had been quite severe after the incident.
Oh no. This is a fairly libertarian leaning state. Yeah.
Well, except for that area, because that area is blue and pretty much Reno and Vegas are blue, where Carson City and everywhere else is all red.
Nevada's a very interesting state. We're like the only state that allows for legalized prostitution. Taxes are extremely low.
I'm surprised Massachusetts doesn't allow that, because they allow everything else except for that almost.
It's bizarre.
Well, I live in Ohio, so you don't want to come here.
Oh, I love America. So
I want to move to Arizona. I love their gun laws. I'm kind of hoping one day I can move out there.
I just want to move back to Michigan. be with my family.
I'm sick of this cold weather.
Oh, it is snowing in Ohio now?
Yeah, that's where I'm from. I live in Ohio.
You can't complain about cold weather.
I hate cold weather. I hate the
I was going to say in the UK, it's pretty much always cold and rainy all the time and cloudy.
yeah.
And it smells like piss and biscuits.
No, well, let's just say I have some issues, which I guess I won't speak about. But let's just say the cold weather doesn't really help it. It kind of makes it worse.
Okay. Our next topic was like the current state of political affairs.
Well, ours is fucked.
Where do you want to start?
But yeah, so I was just saying about the gun laws that a misconception is that British people can't own guns when we can own guns.
That's very hard.
So
Yeah.
what about the current state of affairs in American politics?
Let's see. We got a orange president in office that can't shut up on Twitter, and the news media will start any drama if he says something stupid. Let's see. Our mainstream media, which is controlled indirectly by the government, keeps spreading their lies and propaganda and fooling people. And just I think he's at a dismal state.
I just think it's interesting how everything is kind of in disarray right now. You have the media and Hollywood and
Oh God, not Hollywood.
politicians. Like everything's just in disarray right now. They don't know what to do.
Also, what about the sex scandals lately?
Yeah.
Oh my god, everyone in fucking Hollywood is either a rapist or a pedophile.
I know, and it's fucking
We
sad.
always kind of knew that though.
I found out it's like when I found out some of these people were doing this, I was like not shocked, or I was just like, oh. But then, like all of a sudden, like Sylvester Stallone, aka Rambo and Rocky, was accused of sexually assaulting a 16-year-old back in 1986, and I was like, no, oh come on, oh come the fuck on, dude.
That one didn't surprise me.
How the fuck would you expect Rocky or Rambo to do something like that? I mean, we still don't know. I mean, granted, most likely, given the chance that we've seen all these celebrities come out and do it, chances are he probably did it, but it's kind of a strong case. Like, you got people going back and forth saying, yes, he did it. No, he didn't. You got people coming to his defense. It's like, holy shit, man.
Oh man, I always did
Just
like.
imagine
I'm just like-
Rocky Balboa coming at you when you're 16 years old.
No, I'm just like, oh my God, please don't tell me it's true. Don't tell me the guy who played Rambo and Rocky. And not only that, he started my favorite movie, Cobra. So I'm like, oh my God.
I was just gonna touch you.
I can't watch Cobra or Tango and Cash ever again.
This wasn't his first sex scandal.
I know
Sort
that.
He actually was in a porno.
Well, I know that.
Yeah.
That's a little different, don't you think?
That's how he got the name Italian Stallion. That was the name of his first
I know
film.
that.
Wait, really? That's where they got that from? Italian?
Yeah.
He started in the adult film industry, and that's how he got the name. But then I think he started in like Death Race 2000. Then he got Rocky going, and then it was on.
I always
Do
did.
you remember what his mom looked like?
Yeah, it just sucks.
Didn't his mum used to like touch people's read people's future by touching their ass?
Wait,
I think so.
Not a sweat.
Sounds familiar.
so just
I'm googling
Sylvester Stallone going to declare himself as a gay man now?
No, it was a girl. It was a girl, dude.
But just think about it. If he declares himself as a gay man, he is totally exempt of any sexual assault.
Well, apparently he denies it, and like I said, you got people going back and forth. You got people coming to the defense of the girl he sexually assaulted, and you got people coming to the defense for him,
Well,
like people who worked with he was working on a movie called Over the Top. I don't know if you've seen it. It's not bad, but it's not good. I wouldn't say it's great, but it's like
Didn't Kevin Spacey come out as gay after sexually assaulting a boy?
yeah, and I was just like, I'm just like, oh, well, he was Frank Underwood, and he probably played Frank Underwood for a reason.
Huh.
I don't know, it just makes me like not want to watch movies because it's like you don't know now. It's like if Rocky can most likely can do it, then who the hell else probably did it? Probably no fucking Chuck Norris did it too.
Is he still alive, Chuck Norris?
Yeah, he's still alive.
Yeah, and he's crazy.
Like those 80s action flicks, like I'm a huge fan of, and it's not like I can't watch them no more.
Oh,
Well, I don't know because you know what? What's his name? Oh crap! The guy that raped like drugged and raped a 12-year-old in Jesus, Jack Nicholson's house. What the fuck was his name?
I don't know. Jack,
Famous film director.
I forget. I know the director of Jeepers Creepers did something like that.
actually, I think there was a story of Alfred Hitchcock with one of the female actors. I think he blackmailed her, or I forgot what the story was about.
What, Janet Leigh or something?
Yeah, I think that's the actress.
I mean, like that's Jamie Lee Curtis's mother. Jamie Lee Curtis was a girl who started in Halloween, and she started in True Lies, which was like probably the only two movies I cared for.
No.
Or her movies that I care for. No, wait, I like Trading Places. That's a pretty funny movie.
Oh. Well, we're talking about sexual assault in Hollywood.
Roman Polanski, that's his name.
Yeah, I think wasn't he? Isn't he a French guy?
Yeah, and he's hiding out in I think France.
You know what's
to
weird?
Avoid charges.
And you know what's funny? Because in 2007, he started in Rush Hour 3, which was directed by Brent Renner, who's now been accused of sexual assaults as well.
Oh, not Rush Hour 3. I can't watch that too.
I don't know what your principles are, but I feel like, yeah, I can't watch half the shit now. I probably won't watch cinema almost no more because I don't know who did what. I mean, and it's sad because Cobra is like my favorite movie of all time, and
I've found it. I've found Jackie Stallone's like ass reading. It's on a website. It's called Rumpology. Rumpology. Jackie Stallone, the foremost American rumpologist, has revealed and blah 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 blah. Rumpology is sometimes called butt reading in modern practice. It is the art of reading the lines, crevices, dimples, and folds of the buttocks.
Oh wow.
There you go. I fucking knew it was true.
Oh. Any thoughts on the recent sex scandals coming out of Washington D.C.?
I don't know.
You mean like Roy Moore and
Although I don't think Roy Moore actually didn't do anything.
Well,
oh no, it's pretty. I think the allegations are very credible.
Well, here's the thing.
Very credible.
Let's say he did do it. Let's just say he did. Like people say he was doing this like 30, 40 years ago. Well, my question is why are you bringing it up now?
Yeah,
let's say, I mean, even if, I don't know, but let's say if he does, I don't know. I'm not declaring if he did or not, but I'm just saying, like, a part of me is just going, then why the fuck are you bringing it up now? Idiots. If he really did this stuff, he should have brought it up a long time ago.
Well, I think they're bringing it up now because he has he's in a political race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's well, never mind.
He was a judge for a while.
What's your thoughts on Roy Moore, Jim Jesus?
Yeah, he's not a Democrat.
He seems like a common Republican. People who what did the Henry Brown quote you tweeted at me? That's the way I feel about Republicans.
I wouldn't, like I said, I'm not a big fan of either party, but I wouldn't say he's the common Republican. I just think I almost think he's like the stereotypical Republican that liberals like to say, like Democrats like to say, this is what all Republicans are like. They're a bunch of gun-toting Christian theocrats, which is bullshit.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, yeah, you
Nothing
got
wrong with gun toting.
you got people like that in the Republican Party, but you got all kinds of Republicans. You had Ron Paul Republicans. You had Herman Cain Republicans. I mean, shit.
yeah. How was that called? All right. Republicans may campaign as libertarians, but they were like Democrats.
Yep.
Maybe the Democrats campaign like Democrats, but they kind of work as like far lefter, I guess, maybe.
They still have to abide by the 3x5 index card of allowable opinion at the end of the day, though.
Oh, is that
Yeah.
Tom?
Yeah. Like they only really differ on like very small wedge issues in practice.
It's almost like both parties are like going just farther left. Like the Republicans nowadays seem to be like where the Democrats were 20, 30 years ago, whereas the Democrats are just going farther left with like bringing in Bernie Sanders and all those people.
Has he got much left? Because he's about to die, surely. He looks old as fuck.
I don't know.
I wish he is gonna die very soon.
Well, that's what they said about Strom Thurmond, then he ended up being like 130.
Yeah, I think he was he was about like 100 or 101 when he died.
What? How long do you think Trump's got left?
I don't know.
I reckon he's superhuman.
As long as I don't know.
I think he got another 20 years left in him.
He loves KFC a little bit too much. There's a good chance he
He's
might have a
never
cardiac
drank or
arrest.
smoked in his life, right?
Ronald Reagan was 69 when he became president. He died when he was 93.
Wait, I thought he was 64 and became president.
64? No, he was like. If you're talking like the 1964 RNC speech, no.
I just thought he was 64 when he first ran.
Like as president?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe he was in 1975, but like he was 69, probably about to turn 70 later that year when he became president in 1980.
Yeah, he was 69.
Yeah.
Oh.
I googled it.
Yeah, 1911 to June 2004.
Oh, he looked good for a 69-year-old man.
Yeah, but Donald Trump is the oldest president ever elected.
How old is he?
At 70.
He was 70.
Whoa, that's old as fuck, man. His daughter's fit as fuck, man. How old is his daughter?
32 or 34.
She's getting into MILF range.
His youngest daughter is 24 years old. His youngest son is 11.
Oh, he's probably got good energy. He probably gets good energy somehow.
And Melanie Trump is
He has got good cheese, sir.
Yeah.
That was my Donald Trump impression.
And his wife is like 20 years younger than him or something.
His wife looks like a leopard.
He loves his trophy wives.
She's 47.
Yeah. He seems to like the Eastern European women.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Because he had two.
I don't think I could date a Muslim, to be fair.
No, I said he dated. No, I said Eastern European, not Middle Eastern.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
He definitely got a thing for Slavic women, yeah.
Yeah, Slavs. Slavic, Germanic, Celtic, I don't know.
Slovenia.
No.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Bill Clinton's sex scandals? Well,
I did not have anything to say.
I still can't believe that Kevin Spacey one, where he got found out to be a paedophile and he was like, "I'm gay."
actually, man, I think there's always been a problem with pedophilia in the LGBT community.
Did anybody hear about?
That's true.
Did anybody,
Sorry, carry on.
no, you go ahead. I was just gonna ask quick.
There was do you know, like, I don't know if you know about the royal family, but you know, fucking hell, what's his name? The fucking dickhead, the bald one. Kate
Henry.
Middleton and whatever, their son, Charles or whatever, Charlie or whatever the fuck his name is. When he got born, he was 4 years old, and all of the newspapers and stuff released like him as the sexiest baby.
Okay.
What?
I was just gonna ask, like, since we were talking about sexual harassment, did anybody hear about Bush Senior?
George, sorry.
What Bush Senior did to, like, apparently he grabbed a woman's ass a few years ago.
Is that a bad thing though? Like, come on, grabbing a woman's ass is not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Well, it might get you slapped, but it's really not the end of the world.
Yeah, he's a senile old man now. Give him a break.
Did you ever see that video of him trying to bowl that bowling ball, and he fucking fell down the aisle?
But then again, still at the same time, he could have said to himself, "Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prude. Not at this juncture." Yeah, so a lot of
I was
people
telling Bar the other day, her ass is ample.
read my lips. No one will be a failure. This time we're going all the way. That's probably what he was thinking when he did it.
It really seemed like maybe.
Who's your favorite president?
I don't know. Which century?
Wow, that's like what's my favorite cancer?
Yeah, what century?
The 20th century.
20th century? Well, when I was born, Bush Sr. was president, but I wouldn't count him or anyone after him. I would probably say Calvin Coolidge or Ronald Reagan. Probably Calvin Coolidge.
Mine would probably be fuck knows. It would either be Theodore Roosevelt, because of the only stories I've heard of Theodore Roosevelt are him kicking the shit out of people. Or who was the one that was the founding father? I can't remember his name now.
Jefferson?
Yeah, Thomas Jefferson. I think he's my favorite.
Yeah. If you had asked me of all time, I'd probably say John Adams. Just because I liked his attitude.
That was in the 20th century.
I know, but like, no, but he asked me 20th century.
A couple hundred years off or so. Yeah.
But I guess
my favorite president in the 20th century. If I have to be honest, probably Richard Nixon.
He was a Democrat.
Who's your favorite president of the 21st century?
He was actually a Democrat in disguise.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Warren G. Harding.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I would probably put him in third.
Aside from all the scandals, the sex scandals and stuff.
When it comes to 20th century, I'll put him in third place.
Yeah, Harding was definitely a small government guy.
Yeah, but he died, and then Calvin Coolidge took over.
Yeah, that's when you had the recession, and he came out and said like, "Hey, I'm not going to do anything because if I do anything, it's going to make it even worse." And the recession was way over.
Then we had, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that was it.
Well, I was gonna say, like, then we had the Roaring *20s, which was an economic boom. But then, like, you hear like all these people on the left say he caused the depression. I was like, no, fuck stick, he didn't. If anything, it was
you're causing my depression.
If anything, it was the freaking Federal Reserve in the Progressive era, which lasted from the late 1890s to 1934. Because yes, even with Calvin Coolidge in the Roaring '20s, the Progressive era was still going, and you had the Federal Reserve by then too. If anything, that's what caused the Great Depression.
Well, we sure could use a guy like Herbert Hoover again.
Yeah, who was a Teddy Roosevelt progressive? Because a lot of people don't seem to know that about Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, he was definitely progressive.
Yeah, because like he actually said like the Republican Party needs to abandon some of its conservative value policies because he felt like it was too conservative.
Who was that?
Teddy Roosevelt. He literally said he felt like the Republican Party. The reason why he was a progressive and he got a lot of progressives in the Republican Party was because he said the Republican Party was too conservative and needs to abandon some of its conservative views.
It kind of sounds like what I was when you were saying that. I missed it, but I thought you were talking about Bush, because Bush actually has a quote saying like we had to abandon free market principles in order to save the free market or something like that.
You mean like too big to fail or something like that?
No, it was when he was doing TARP.
I don't know.
Too big to fail was Obama.
I thought too big to fail was the 2008 bailout speech or something. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, how you
It's fucking stupid anyway.
That book by Murray and Rothbard, the Progressive Era.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite president of the 21st century?
No one, unfortunately.
Even when I was a Rothbardian, I did not have the time to go through all of those guys' books. That guy was a beast. He's still releasing books, and he's been dead for like 20 years almost.
He must have been really busy when he wasn't giving all those speeches or anything or debates.
Oh, Rothbard. Let's see. If I remember, according to Walter Black, he was able to write 8 pages within 1 hour.
Yeah, the guy was a beast.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never really. I mean, I studied the guy a little bit, but like, I wasn't. Like I said, I wasn't like really too impressed. I don't know. I just kind of really stuck to like the Edmund Burke style way of politics for the past few years.
Yeah.
A Burkean conservative.
Right, lads. It's really late where I am, so I'm gonna have to call it a night. All right.
Bye, Smug Capitalist.
So
Later.
Just Birkin conservative, Edmund Burke.
Yeah, that's what I am, an Edmund Burke style conservative.
Okay, we got an anarcho capitalist, and I'm just some libertarian.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that term though.
Well, you're a voluntarist.
No.
What you are, man. I'm just gonna say that.
I mean, like I'm an anarcho-capitalist. It's the best way of putting it, but I really don't like the word capitalism, because capitalism encompasses like it was a word that was invented by Marx as a slur against market systems, and he was trying to paint all market systems as the kind of mercantilist system that we would understand today.
Okay, just call yourself laissez-faire.
So yeah, I'm an anti-state libertarian. I guess that's the best way of putting it.
What about a laissez-faire anarchist?
A laissez-faire. That's where we just
like
sit around and eat corn dogs because we're too lazy to get up and get on the Ferris wheel.
No, like
I know, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Actually, one thing I don't like about Marx, I kind of just don't like they kind of have to generalize pretty much everything.
Well, the thing about what you were saying about like how capitalism was invented by Marx, I would have been like, so what? Just like go with it, because the British used to call us Yanks, and what did we do with that word? We turned it into a compliment. So it just be kind of like saying we just took an insult and just turned it into a compliment.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about the way Marxists argue with capitalists is they accuse you with imperialism.
Yeah.
You know, Marx himself was totally fine with imperialism, by the way.
Like Wyatt Earp. Like, I don't know if you know who Wyatt Earp was. Like, he was a former lawman, like back in the Wild West days. But like when he wanted to settle down in Arizona and in Tombstone, which you could watch like the movie Tombstone or the Kevin Costner version, which kind of sucked. You know, like before he doesn't say this in the movies, but like if you study him, he'll say like he wanted to get into like business and stuff like that, and he said, "I'm a capitalist."
Yeah.
Yeah, but the reason why I don't is because it's kind of conceding false points when you ever talk with communists, and it really got annoying when they were like, well, "Let's define communism or capitalism." I'm like, well, if that's your definition of capitalism, then I'm not that. Yeah.
I just say, well, usually I just say that's bullshit, because basically you just go against like everything like I stand for, which is private property and not being taxed to death and shit like that. So like if that's what makes me a capitalist, then I guess I'm a capitalist and I'm just gonna roll with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
supporting private property and low taxes and being allowed to make as much money as you want. That's what being a capitalist is, and fine. I guess I'm a capitalist. I'm just going to go with it. I'm not going to argue. I'm just going to go with it.
Hey, you didn't create your own wealth. You got your what's that Barack Obama speech?
No, I think that was Warren. It was
Well,
Warren that actually said that, but Obama said something that sounded like that, and it was a little bit taken out of context. I still don't agree with what he said, but I think it was a little bit taken out of context.
you mean like that term where he said
You
didn't
build it, yeah. So somebody else helped you build it.
or because
The government helped you build it.
I was thinking like either that or that Joe the plumber's talk where he said if you spread the wealth, you need to spread the wealth around or something like that. Which he said multiple times, and yet a lot of people on the left who don't like Barack Obama thought I was crazy for calling him a socialist. Well, even if you don't think he was, I don't know, saying spreading the wealth kind of gives me the idea he was.
A lot of people say Barack Obama was a Kenyan, a socialist. Maybe he was a socialist.
A
Guys,
Kenyan or a Keynesian?
Kenyan.
From Kenya.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
I know that there's people that used to go outside of like in Washington D.C. with big signs that says Obama was a Keynesian, and people would come up to him. He was born in America. No, Keynes.
Keynesian economics is like, yeah, kind of like a joke. Oh yeah, we'll just spend more money out of debt. Oh yeah, we're in debt, no problem. Just spend more money, no problem.
Yeah, man. It's actually still wondering why they kind of fear like a big deflationary spiral or whatever. If you want to see a good example of Keynesian economics, look at Japan.
Look at the U.S. That's pretty Keynesian.
Well, yeah, thanks
We're in a bubble right now.
to FDR and people like FDR and Nixon.
Yeah. Let's see, FDR with his New Deal programs and Nixon taking us off the gold standard.
Yeah. Yeah, occasionally you'll get your Calvin Coolidge or your Ronald Reagan, but mostly it just seems like you just get your FDRs and Richard Nixons.
And you know why? Because they are do something presidents.
And
They're always do something.
And your Jimmy Carters.
Yeah, I like Clinton when he had a Republican House and Senate because he was pretty much a do nothing president for the most part. Sure, he did some things.
You mean like that 1994 so-called revolution?
Yeah. What is it? Contract for America. That's when we got that. And welfare reform.
I don't remember. I
love gridlock.
I was just little in 1994, but all I can say is whatever. I don't remember much of it, but something says I did not like that year. Not because of politics, though. I don't know why.
And can I ever be on Lowberts with you someday?
I'm going to be starting up an interview show soon, and I'm going to be doing that. I'm not taking applications for Lowberts. We have more than enough right now.
Well, I'm technically the guy who's running Right Wing Federation right now because like everybody else doesn't post any more videos up there. Like 2 years ago when we all started it with like Blaze and Luis Marrero, like it was just going to be a bunch of guys posting our own videos, but it's like I'm the only one who does it. But like anybody who wants to like post like like a bunch of like pro-capitalist, anti-communist, or just pro-individualist, anti-collectivist shit, go ahead.
Yeah, wasn't that channel kind of? I don't know. The guy that was running it for a while.
Yeah,
I don't want to say his name
Blaze.
because I think he wants to be anonymous. I'm not sure. But he started kind of going down the whole reactionary kind of bandwagon for a while.
Like I said, I have mixed feelings about that because like I kind of because you got your right wing reenactionary. I always kind of see myself. I guess over the years, I kind of started to see myself as sort of a right wing, not a right wing reenactionary, but a right wing revolutionary. Where like I just want to like just be like, unlike that stupid Argentinian who wanted to go around starting left wing revolutions, I just kind of wanted to go around starting right wing revolutions around the world.
Wait, you're a Trotskyite?
No, no, just like finding a bunch of opposition leaders who support free market capitalism, train in guerrilla warfare, and overthrow like far left governments, far left dictators.
Yeah, so yeah, you're really gonna interview people?
Me or him?
Jim.
Wait,
Um,
you're gonna what? Yeah. I'm gonna have like an interview show. That's the plan. I'm probably gonna have Angela Keaton on first, and then
Huh.
kind of go from there. Yeah, and
I don't-
it's gonna be in the Lulberts feed too. So
I don't know about me. Like I said, I'm pretty much of a hick, so I'm not really good with all this tech stuff. So even if I were to interview somebody, like I would have to have like it would have to be like recorded on another channel and then like just posted on there or something. I don't know.
Someday.
Like, hopefully, if I can get one of the guys who from one of the other Federation guys, even though they don't post videos on there anymore, they could probably just go back on there and just set it up for me. Because, like I said, I'm a pretty I'm a pretty low tech guy. I've been that way pretty much my whole life. So you gotta understand why I'm not a computer geek. I don't know how everything works.
yeah, things are for getting good audio quality and creating content now. It's getting so easy to do now.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're talking to a guy who didn't get a cell phone, who didn't till I was 23. You know?
Oh.
And I know a person who really gives out really great quality, but
Yeah. The part of Ohio I live in is not like Cleveland or Columbus or anything like that.
I know a YouTuber who gives out really great quality videos, but I think you hate him.
What?
I
Me?
think, yeah,
I hate everybody.
That's fine.
That's a reputation that I've been getting lately, and I'm like, I don't. I'm just very vocal about the people I do hate.
I'm about to say
kind of
love, life, and anarchy.
No, I'll pass. I'll really pass on that. I have nothing to say about that guy. Nothing.
If you hate all those people, I'll probably end up being your worst enemy.
What about Shane Killian? Yeah, he goes out.
Now that guy hates me.
Oh,
because I had a disagreement with because I'm not a fan of the NAP, and he did some video about what's it, Matt Zolinsky, and I'm also not the biggest fan of Matt Zolinsky either, but Matt Zolinsky wrote a piece about the NAP which I thought was okay, and he made a video about it, and I was commenting, and I made a couple of video responses to him. And he just snaps, and I didn't realize at the time how he kind of interacts with people he disagrees with. It's not he never really kind of makes valid criticisms against people who disagree with him. He just starts screeching and calling people liar, and it's just like, oh my god, are you kidding me? Yeah,
I don't know. I like Shane.
yeah, but wait until you have a disagreement with them, and your opinion may change of him, because I like them too.
Well, he called me a bigot. Well, I'm not crying about it.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised what I get accused of, because I like to say bullshit a lot of the times. I'm like, oh, that's bullshit. Oh, give me a fucking break. You got to be fucking kidding me if you believe that. Like, I respect everyone's opinion. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But, like, if I think it's really fucking ridiculous, don't expect me to just sit there and not be like, bullshit.
Bullshit.
So I get the feeling you are really gonna hate me. You're
Is
gonna
that a Plan 9 from Outer Space reference?
Yeah.
Or no, Ed Wood?
So yeah, if you say you hate everybody,
Bullshit.
that's the rep, or if that's the reputation you're getting, yeah, you're probably gonna be like, oh my god, Soldier 7, I just want someone to fucking kill him.
No,
Well,
I don't. No, it just
Well, I don't know, dude. Like, I've seen a lot of your videos, and like, I'm just gonna be clear, like, because I'm pretty sure you would probably be like, you disagree with a lot of with things I say, and that's okay. But like, It's like it's not like I'm gonna.
I have people on my podcast that I vehemently disagree with.
I know.
Like MK Lords is a great example of that. It's interesting because I've been accused of white knighting for her. And then, like the first podcast I had her on, we were like, or the second podcast I had her on, we were like fighting most of the time.
The thing is, it's not like I advocate I should just kick down your door and have you shot or anything like that. Like, what?
Oh, speaking on the non-aggression principle, have you seen Tom's video, Chulo Tom's video?
Who? Wait, who?
Chulo's Tom?
Was that the one that was saying that the NAP is some sort of like Jewish conspiracy or something like that?
Oh, don't listen to Esoteric when he says that. Don't listen to him.
Yeah, I can't stand.
Okay.
Are you talking? I can't.
Join the club.
I can't.
Join the club.
I can't really stand those anti-Zionist, anti-Semitic conspiracy theorists where the Jewish people and the Zionists, they control everything, they control the media, everything. Oh, wait a minute. So Ted Turner's Jewish? He's a Zionist? No, he's not.
Just don't listen to that video. Actually watch the video. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't like to get. I prefer not to be involved in the Middle East, but yeah, I choose Israel over freaking Hamas and Hezbollah and all those other fucking dictatorships like in Saudi Arabia. I mean, yeah,
I'm of the opinion of pox on both their houses, but if you held a gun to my head and made me choose, I'm gonna go with Israel.
Israel too,
but I'm not gonna be very happy about it. Israel does some pretty bad shit.
I'm not saying Israel's perfect. I'm not saying.
I know.
I'm not saying I'm not saying there are times where they've been in the wrong and everything. I know that, but it's like all the Zionist conspiracies. Well, Israel's evil. They kill all these freaking Palestinians. Well, then tell freaking Hamas and Hezbollah to stop firing rockets into Israel.
Yeah,
like you're just giving them a reason to just drop bombs. And unlike Hamas and Hezbollah, at least Israel drops flyers, even though that probably doesn't do a whole lot of good. But hey, at least they're trying to like warn people in some way. Like, hey, we're about to blow the shit out of your neighborhood, so you may want to get the fuck out.
Wait. But is a George Soros Rothschild's plot, man? It's all part of the conspiracy, man. You better be quiet, man.
They all say, but even though like just about like they support like all these far left groups who they donate to all these far left groups who like say Israel's like an apartheid state.
Well, I kind of do,
which is kind of, no, it ain't, dude. Like I know plenty. Like I've heard some Muslims literally come out and say no, that's not true. Like Israel is not apartheid. The reason, yeah, he admits that they can be pretty uptight, but they're not apartheid. Yeah. It's like, yeah, if you go around blowing shit up, yeah, they're gonna be uptight about it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying their government has always been in the right. I mean, they have been in the wrong, but I'm just saying it's much better over there than it is in Iran or Saudi Arabia, and I shouldn't have to explain why.
Yeah. Actually, I think Rothbard was an anti-Zionist.
Yeah. Well, Rothbard was ethnically Jewish, but he wasn't religiously Jewish, so he didn't really care about all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, watch Tom's video on the non-aggression principle. Is actually pretty good. Like he actually laid out some really great criticisms to argumentation ethics, the non-aggression principle, and Rothbard ethical framework.
Yeah. See, I watched Esoteric's video and then I kind of like I peeked over at the other video and I saw like the Moon Man stuff and I was like, oh, it's probably true that he was probably saying it was a Jewish conspiracy.
No, it wasn't a Jewish.
Okay.
It wasn't a Jewish conspiracy. Because Kurt, the guy he borrowed the criticisms from, Kurt Doolittle, he's philosopher, like an actual legit philosopher. He's a proprietarian of sorts, a different form of libertarian.
Oh, okay.
He used very strange language. He used very strange wording, unfortunately. Like when Esoteric said that's a Jewish trick, but if you actually read his words, he just said that the Jewish people didn't really contribute anything to their comments, wherever. It's kind of complicated.
Yeah, like my criticism of the NAP is it's mostly from a deontological ethical position, and that's what a lot of libertarians kind of turn it into. And I don't think it's a valid ethical deontological system at all, because it allows for things that we would find abhorrent, absolutely abhorrent, and it would it's really hard to hear. I'm getting feedback from Soul Drifter. That's really kind of distracting.
I'm not saying anything.
No, I'm getting feedback. I can hear myself through your mic.
Wait.
There we go. So yeah, like my kind of criticism of the NAP through him is or whatever is a deontological position. So like if you okay, so if we were taking it as a deontological position, as a lot of people want to do in the liberty movement, I guess, is that it would allow for things that we would find benign to be violations of the law or violations of ethics, maybe not law. So if you're not allowed to trespass because it's a violation of property to do so without explicit permission, simply turning on a light which would send photons trespassing into other people's property would be a violation. And it doesn't matter what degree, it doesn't matter the outcomes in the NAP if it's a deontological position. It's just you should not do it, period, unless you have prior explicit kind of either contractual or verbal agreements to do so. And that would allow, because you wouldn't fire a death beam at someone's house to catch their house on fire. So if no matter how much you dial those photons back in strength, it wouldn't matter, because the initiation of force would be those photons crossing, not what the damage caused by it. So yeah, I think the NAP is a good rule of thumb, and that's about it. Yeah.
You cut me. Can you say that again? You cut out a little bit.
Oh, I said it's a great rule of thumb, but that's where it stops. I don't think it's a valid deontological ethical system.
Oh,
yeah.
Aren't you an egoist?
I have egoist leanings, but I'm not an egoist now.
Oh,
and I would call myself like a psychological egoist or a rational egoist, in terms of ethics.
Oh, so you were first spook guy, Max Stirner. Okay.
Yeah, Max Stirner is an interesting guy. There's a lot that I disagree with him on. There's a lot that I really kind of find valuable in it. It's kind of a mixed bag for me.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think his philosophy can justify many horrible things.
I don't think it justifies anything.
Well, dang it, man.
To say that he's justifying anything would be a spook.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. It's basically how you want to get on best. And if you look at objectivism, a lot of it kind of comes from kind of egoism, kind of egoist thought. Like she borrowed a lot from Stirner.
Objectivism, like Ayn Rand?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Actually, have you ever read Ayn Rand, Soul Drift?
No, I haven't. I mean, I know I know her biography. I read that. I studied that, but I can't say I read any of her books though.
Yeah. Have you read The Fountainhead or Atlas Shrugged, Jim?
I've been told that Fountainhead is really great and I should check it out, but I don't know. I've been kind of turned off because I tried reading Atlas Shrugged, and it is painful to read, because she has this way of writing, at least in that book, and it's understandable because of what happened with Fountainhead, because everybody was kind of inserting their own kind of opinion on what was going on in there, and she was mad. So she made it very clear anytime she had any kind of symbolism to explain it in three paragraph soliloquies. So like it'll be like, oh, Hank Reardon raised his eyebrow, and that was signifying his devotion to rugged individualism and his disdain for collectivist thought. And it's like, really? Do we have to talk about this for 3 pages while he raised his eyebrow? Do we have to do this whole thing about the music? And it's just...
Well, what I heard, they said The Fountainhead is much better than Atlas Shrugged.
Because it doesn't do that.
Like it's less preachy. She's less preachy in that, and it's also straight to the point. A little bit more.
But so what I ended up doing is I read the first part, and that was painful. And I ended up just like getting a copy of the Cliff Notes and read that, and I thought that was good. It's a great story, and it's just told very badly. And the John Galt speech is really, really good. That's what I really liked. But I also like the Cole Goldstein book inside 1984 that everybody else hated. So I'm like, like for me, I'm much more of a fan of nonfiction than fiction.
Me too. I prefer reading nonfiction because it sort of helps I'm able to memorize things much better when I read nonfiction text. All right. Yeah, John Gott's speech is like 80 pages long in that the Shrug.
Mm-hmm.
And Anne Rand read it, and it took her 3 hours to finish it.
But it was good.
Well, speaking of books, organizations, I just want to ask quickly, are you guys familiar with the John Birch Society?
Who?
The John Birch Society.
A little bit. I know that Alex Jones was a Bircher for a while. I don't know if he still is.
I'm not really big on Alex Jones.
I wouldn't think the Birch Society is big on Alex Jones either, but
yeah. Well, like they just like I just feel like like they're just like too radical or too crazy for me. I mean, like I'm sure when the whole organization started, they were probably okay because like it was based off of a guy named John Bird who was killed by Chinese communists in 1945 after the Second World War. But it's like after that, it's just like they just allow like all these radicals and people you just don't want to be associated with. They just let them in. It's kind of like, wait a minute, whoa. This is not what we should be about. I mean,
although I wouldn't associate myself with anyone who watched Alex Jones.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't think they do. But Alex Jones was a fan of them. I don't know if the reverse was true.
Well, technically, I think it was supposed to be an anti-communist organization, but they just end up letting all these other groups, these radicals in, and I was just kind of like, yeah, this group goes a little too far.
Okay. Speaking of that, I will show for Jim Jesus. Jim Jesus has a recent work podcast about conspiracy theories. I recommend you checking out.
Which one?
The recent one, like 2
I was going to say, because I've done a lot of them about conspiracy theories.
The most recent one? I don't know.
I'm not really big on conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I don't know which one you're talking about.
The recent one that you had?
The most recent one with Matt?
Yeah.
I don't think we were talking about conspiracies, really. I think I mentioned them briefly.
Wait. I've been check your channel real quick.
Was it the Conspiratards Do Good?
Yeah, that.
Conspiratards Do Good, Bordatarians Don't?
Yeah.
Okay.
Conspiratards.
Yeah. So a while back, like episode 25, I wanted to do an episode for podcast day, and it just happened to end on kind of almost a round number. I guess 25 is a round number. It's a quarter. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to do a podcast. I couldn't get anybody to do a podcast with me. So I quickly kind of threw one together about the JFK assassination because I was kind of getting interested in it at the time. And my history with conspiracy theories around JFK was really small, short, and brief. I was a Bill Cooper fan, William Milton Cooper. And he had this bizarre conspiracy theory about the JFK conspiracy theory, which is laughable now. But when at the time I didn't understand most of the stuff, that the limo driver shot JFK. And if you look at really poor quality versions of the Zapruder film, it sort of looks like he's turning around and pulling a pistol and shooting Kennedy in the face. But if you really kind of get a good quality of it and really look at it, you'll realize it's just the reflection of the gel or the whatever that's in the passenger vehicle's hair. Yeah.
Speaking of JFK,
yeah,
you think there were multiple shooters?
I'm sorry.
Oswald did it.
Yeah, Oswald did it and acted alone.
Really?
Like conspiracy I can believe about the JFK assassination was who asked him to do it because he was associated with all types of groups. Like
Yeah.
you can say whether if it was the CIA, the KGB, the Cubans, or the Cuban dissidents who were pissed at him because of Bay of Pigs. I could possibly believe, someone put him up to it or gave him some help. But other than that, yeah,
It-
he did it, and he did it alone, no second shooter.
Yeah, so I mean, it's entirely possible that they did reach out to him and get him to do that, but at the same time, if you look at Oswald and they knew his history at the time, especially when he was in the Soviet Union, he was very emotionally and mentally unstable. This is a guy who defected to the USSR like before Gorbachev, like pre-Gorbachev. This was, when Khrushchev was still in power. And he goes over there and he wants to become a citizen there. He marries a Russian girl there, and they deny him because he's fucking crazy, and they think that he may be a spy because
Well, he was a Marine, so that
because he was a Marine, and so they didn't let him. And he threatened to kill himself and try to kill himself because as an act of protest. And they ended up saying, well, this guy's out of his mind, send him back. And so they sent him back to the United States. And he was very abusive to his wife. He wasn't really that good of a shot. I mean, the gun. He was a good shot. He wasn't the best shot.
he was
He had a really gun that that anybody could afford to have bought him a better one if they were really working with him. And he was able to pull off the shot only because it was I think the kill shot was only 88 yards, which is not that much, even with the offset that it had. So Oswald would be a very unlikely person for a communist regime to reach out to have JFK killed for them. He was not the kind of guy that was very reliable or emotionally stable.
Maybe his wife was a Soviet spy.
Maybe.
I hear stories that Oswald actually wanted to protect JFK and just
Oh, what a load of shit.
Yeah.
Because
because
Oswald was pretty uproar about Cuba. He was like, let the Cubans be communist. Castro's a good guy.
he didn't do nothing.
Yeah, Castro was so innocent.
well,
Yeah.
at least that guy's getting at least Castro is burning hell.
Yep.
What?
So when they were still together before he was murdered or whatever by Jack Ruby, Oswald would regularly sit down and talk about how much they hated JFK together over dinner. It was a regular conversation for them. And the reason why why this was even brought up was because when they started doing interviews with everything, for the investigation, they were talking to her because she thought it was interesting that the one night that they actually did not have this conversation where she was trying to initiate that conversation about JFK. Oh, JFK's coming to town. He just was like, yeah, whatever. And just kind of dropped the subject and didn't want anything to talk about. And she thought that was kind of weird. And she mentioned that to some of the investigators. So yeah, just for him to be pro JFK, that's really kind of out of the
question.
Yeah.
He was pro Castro and
he was an avowed Marxist communist.
I think he even went to the Cuban embassy in Mexico to declare citizenship in Cuba, but they told him, nah, get out of here.
Oh man, these people are crazy, man. Why is every Marxist are kind of crazy?
I don't know.
Although Marx himself was crazy.
I think every ideology has its group of unsavory characters for sure.
Well, even Rothbard was a little bit unreliable at times.
So I guess someone in the chat's asked me about the NAP. He said, "What's wrong with the NAP?" Apparently, I answered, and he says, "It depends on what you're doing harm to other people's property." No, because the NAP doesn't say anything about harming other people's property. It just says don't aggress. Well, it doesn't care about consequences as a deontological ethical position. Which again, I don't really if it's about consequentialism, do not cause harm that that results in damages, then I'd be for that. But it's not a consequentialist position, and I am a kind of a consequentialist. So
Oh, that's why you like David Freeman.
I'm sorry.
Like if you're
Well, what was that? I think I cut
I
out.
said, that's why you like David Freeman.
Yeah. Or rather, David Freeman's kind of how I kind of stumbled into that and away from more of the Rothbardian tradition.
Rothbardians. I don't see nothing wrong with Rothbardian libertarians.
I don't know. Generally, no.
Any thoughts on Hoppe though?
just don't like the book and I
Hoppa's contributed like some really interesting things to Austrianism for sure. I think he introduced something I don't think is particularly valid, but Rothbard liked, and that was argumentation ethics. I was not a big fan of that. Even back then, I was kind of like, this is kind of a weird argument, and it almost seems like a philosophical parlor trick. And so, yeah, argumentation ethics is basically if you're arguing against the NAP peacefully, therefore you're proving argumentation ethics, because in doing so, you're employing your scarce means in order to achieve a goal, and you're doing it non-violently according to the non-aggression principle, instead of violently threatening someone for disagreeing with you. And so in doing so, and so for you to argue against what you're doing is a performative contradiction, and therefore proves the NAP. Not exactly, because what it's the only thing that it's showing is that you value non-aggression in one particular instance of life, in one particular moment in life. That's it.
What I can gather, I really recommend watching Chulitan's criticisms on the non-aggression principle, because he does get into the argumentation ethics.
Okay, I'll have to check that out then.
Yeah. Let's see. He said that it was supposed to solve the is alt problem in the philosophy, but he said that Hoppe just made the exertions.
Yeah. And those criticisms that I kind of leveled out that are not my criticisms, like I think the only thing that I kind of contributed to that, which I don't think is a very strong argument against it, which that's why I don't bring it up. But the person that kind of leveled the criticism that I just talked about was actually Robert P. Murphy.
Yeah,
he was an Austrian. Yeah.
Actually, he even mentioned Robert Murphy in that video.
Oh, okay.
He said in the Macian criticism argumentation, actually, argument that praxeology was never meant to explain moral actions.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out then.
Yeah, actually, just check out Tom's channel. It's pretty amazing.
Okay, he's got the Moon Man thing. Is that going to be like a thing where he's talking a lot about?
No, not really. He doesn't really talk about the Jews.
Okay. Yeah, I've kind of had it with the alt-right.
I don't really know. I don't know what to think of them. Like, even since day one, I was always skeptical of them. I'm just like, I don't really know what these guys are all about. I mean, some of them seem okay, but then like people like Richard Spencer, I guess, is he alt-right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, I don't know about this guy. This guy, I think he just said non-whites have no future in America. I'm guessing non-whites also include mixed races, like half Native Americans like me. So, yeah, I don't think I'm for this.
I don't know. The alt-right lacks a ideology, so it's kind of hard to pin.
That's because they're not 100% Bavarian phenotype.
Well, here's the thing. What I feel about the alt-right, I don't really know why they consider themselves right at all, because if they want, like, the so-called neo-Nazi state or whatever, you know, that's going to be a lot of collectivism and authoritarianism. So you might as well just call yourself the alt-left or whatever.
Well, socialism works if it's with white people only. That's what a lot of them kind of espouse.
Well,
and
yeah,
they've always espoused it. See, here's why I don't kind of consider myself right. Like I call myself post-right, but if you kind of understand what the post-left is, you kind of get why you wouldn't kind of say, well, that's all. Well, if you're post-right, you're also right. It's a criticism of the right. But if you look at like what the history of the left and right kind of dichotomy has always been, it's never about like opposite sides of a spectrum, but rather kind of opposite sides of Hegelianism.
Yeah, that's You're right. You're right about that.
Yeah, and Hegelian has always Hegel has always kind of been like a very authoritarian kind of thinker. And so you're basically kind of choosing what flavor of authoritarianism if you're talking about, well, I'm on the left or I'm on the right. Because that's what it traditionally traditionally it meant like the left was more what we would understand liberals or classical liberals today. And then the right was the kind of authoritarians. And then after a while, like the Hegelians kind of took over that left-right paradigm. And that's kind
of I think Mises mentioned that in Human Action.
Okay.
Well, I mean, like, there's different kind of spectrums. I mean, like, I think Scotty kind of like brought this up in one of his live Facebook live streams. He does live streams on Facebook, and he was talking about like the European spectrum is different than the American spectrum, which, yes, I think the American spectrum should be the spectrum in general. And that is the more collective you are, the more left you go. The more individualist you are, the more right you go. It should be to where the left is nothing but communism and fascism on the far left, and then the far right is basically anarchy.
Yeah, but anywhere else in the world, the right would clearly be fascism would be on the right.
I'm someone who I describe myself as like as a Burke conservative. As a conservative, I'm described as center right, and like I said, I don't care. It is what it is. I accept it. I'm not gonna argue with it. It is. I don't care.
Yeah, because American conservatives are, or at least the thought. I wouldn't say how they are in practice, but the American conservative thought has always been kind of an anomaly for the quote unquote right. And I would not, a lot of times I wouldn't even put them in the right. They have a lot of right kind of leaning stuff, but that's about it. It's mostly on the social.
I guess it just depends on what you mean, like the definition or the people who represented it. Because yeah, we haven't had a lot of good representatives on the right these past few years. I mean, in that sense, I would say you're right. But like as the definition of like small government, like individual, like my definition as a Burke conservative is like, yes, I believe in liberty, but I also believe in a sense of law and order. So yes, provide liberty, but provide law and order at the same time.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was kind of trying to make it very clear. I was talking about conservative thought versus conservative in practice. Conservatism in practice is a little bit different.
Well, I know that, but
yeah. Wait, you're only a fascist if you kill the Jews. That's it. That's pretty much it.
But when you compare
why Hitler's considered to be right for you, because he
killed then the USSR would be the greatest fascists of all time.
In that case, well, I guess it just depends on how you look at it, because like I know fascists, because I've argued with fascists before, I've argued with communists before, like they both claim to be different, but when reality they're all the same because they have the same roots. They both come from socialism. Nazi stands for National Socialism. The Soviet Union was United Soviet Socialist Republics, and fascism. Mussolini was a socialist, and yeah, just because he didn't have socialism and fascism, he still took some of his socialist ideas and put it into fascism. So even if, let's say, it's not purely socialism, it comes from socialist roots. So like just like communism, it comes from socialist roots. But even if, let's say, they weren't entirely socialism, like fascism wasn't socialism, like a lot of fascists I know like to say, still you both share the same idea that you both want a collective authoritarian state, maybe for different reasons, but at the end of the day, that you both want the same thing, which is a collective authoritarian state. I don't. I want a free market republic, basically, a Burke conservative, a free market, a federal republic that provides liberty, but also is able to provide law and order when necessary.
Yeah, I'm a Hulkitarian, and basically it's just the philosophy of Hulk. Hulk just wants to be left alone.
Oh man, I honestly I don't know. I'm sort of torn.
Like, what do you mean? I thought you were a monarchist.
Yeah, just I'm sort of torn. I don't know. I think an aristocracy could work.
I'm pretty much against democracy. I'm all for republics. If we're gonna have government, then yes, I would prefer it would be a republic and not a democracy or anything else. But that is if we do have government. But if we have anarchy or anarchism, well, which I don't really believe in that either, then yes, I'm gonna go with anarcho-capitalism even though I don't agree with anarchism in general, but if we have to go with anarchy or anarchism, that's what I'm going to go with.
You could be an ANCOM where they you could be an ANCOM where they abolish money, but they use coupons.
Yeah,
their vouchers. Get it right.
That's what they use in Catalonia.
Well, the problem with anarcho-communism is like it doesn't make any sense. Same thing with national anarchism, which is basically Nazi anarchism. It's like, okay, you want no government, but how do you think you're going to get your policies passed? Because I don't think we're just going to abolish government and all of a sudden we're going to have social justice and wealth redistribution. Because you're going to have people like us who are going to say, no, we're not for this. We don't want this. We want to be able to live our own lives, have our own self-determination, and yeah, we don't want to be part of your fucking cult of personality.
What was interesting about Catalonia, and I guess you can also say about the Ukraine when they were kind of ANCOM too, is that they did have a de facto state, and that was a CNT. And the CNT was not exactly what you would call a very small government. They had concentration camps. They had control of the media. Like they had their own propaganda arm. Yeah.
Talking about the Spanish Civil War and the Red Terror.
Yeah.
You just had it was basically just collectivists fighting collectivists.
Yeah. Amazing about history is filled with government failures and failed attempts at trying to control humanity.
Yeah. Government should only be like involved in certain things, but I think like for the most part, especially when it comes to the economy, the private sector has to be the leading factor in the economy. Whereas some countries think no, the public sector should have control of the economy or should be the leading role in the economy. No, it should definitely be the private sector.
Oh, you could just ask them for the people who want to essentially plan economy, you could just ask the same question that Mises posted.
I mean, yeah, you want your city halls, you want your welfare offices and stuff like that. Okay, fine. I actually support those kind of things. I know they're kind of seen as left-leaning views, but I do support those kind of things. But other than that, no.
See, I have the problem that I have with welfare, at least how it's been implemented around the world, especially in the United States, because that's where I'm from. And
well, I agree. Like, I don't like how it's being used.
But I don't see how you could really bridge the problem, and they've tried, and it's been a disaster. How you bridge the problem with when you're creating this level of, okay, if you're under this, then we'll give you Section 8 housing, we'll give you food stamps, if you have children, WIC, etc. We'll give you all these programs, but the instant that you make $1 more than this, all of that gets swept out under the rug. And what it does is it creates like this point where if you get like a 1 cent raise over that, you're basically getting a deduction in pay.
That's true, and
so people don't want to move up that bracket, and it kind of locks them into that stranglehold because they know that if they make $1 more a year, then that's it. They lose their house, they lose all their food stamps and everything. And I know they have like welfare to work programs to try to solve that, but they've been a disaster as well.
Yeah.
And I don't see how you're going to be able to solve that kind of problem. I mean, that's
well, I do.
Well, since we're all right wingers, we hate the poor, so let the poor die on the street then.
Well, like I'm just saying,
I'm all for like private charity and all that sort of thing, and I would gladly give if I wasn't already giving.
Well, see, that's the thing. I support those things too, but the thing is where I came from, where I used to live for like 20. Where I've lived I just moved to a new place, but where I used to live for like the first for 20 years of my life, from 97 to 2017, we didn't have a whole lot of private charities. So like if you needed like any assistance or if you had medical issues, yeah, you kind of had to go to Social Security or some kind of welfare if you were having like health issues or just struggling in general. Kind of like with my family right now. Like my nephew's a type 1 diabetic, so we kind of got him on Social Security. My sister's on it too, and everything. So I do support, so I do support those things. I mean, if we can get enough private charities to just come around and just give us what we need, then I would just be like, okay, then we don't need to go to Social Security or welfare. But you
I
don't,
always thought that that these charities be more prevalent, more out there, more prevalent if the welfare state didn't exist.
Yeah. I mean, there's no real reason to start up a charity if the government's already kind of monopolizing your industry.
Plus,
well, I mean, like, I'm not saying like, there should be any kind of monopolization. I'm just saying like, okay, well, if these charities by any chance don't come to your town, if they just pass through and don't come by, then okay, we'll have this office set up for you for if you need any help, you can come and get it. But you'll probably just get like a few hundred a month, which is probably for the best. Like, I wouldn't suggest giving people $2,000 a month or anything like that, unless you really like are really disabled.
oh, there is high-acting welfare.
Negative
Friedrich Hayek advocated for some type of welfare.
Is it sort of like a negative income tax type of thing, or?
I don't know. I mean, like, 'cause, if you have like difficulties, like, for example, like you may not get employed because you have this wrong with you, and you have this wrong with you.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of why I'm not in the Marine Corps. I wanted to join the Marines after high school, but due to certain health issues, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Well. Okay. Here's a different topic that's been on my mind. Well, a couple of weeks. A few weeks ago, I uploaded a video about imagine a world about religion, and I just said that it's really not going to change that much of anything if religion is just gone like that. I just received after Godless Cranium made a response to me. I just received like a bunch of downvotes on that. I'm still kind of pissed about that. I just want to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
So your argument is that if religion were to go away tomorrow, nothing will change.
Yeah.
Well, for the most part, nothing will change. I'm sure a lot would change, but not really anything really substantial. I sort of agree with that. I don't know. I think Nietzsche talked about this in the gay science, or actually it should be called the happy science. Because gay has changed its meaning at the time. But the whole argument was the whole God was dead thing was God is dead. Humans have killed it, but what's gonna fit in its place? Because if there's no system of ethics for people to follow, they're going to basically devolve into chaos. And what should humans replace it with? And that was kind of a discussion that was taken out of context and made movies about that were just terrible. But yeah, so I kind of understand at the same time there could be some problems with that as well. And by the way, I'm an atheist. Like, don't let the Jesus part fool you in my name. I'm a very affirmed atheist.
We know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just making sure, because I get a lot of people going like, "Oh, you're a stupid Christian," and I'm like, okay, whatever. But yeah. I understand, but at the same time, like politically, if you think that like it's going to end all these kind of weird conservative social mores, you're wrong. There's a lot of people today that still have these really kind of strong conservative values who are devout atheists as well. So yeah, I don't think it'll solve anything in terms of that. And for the most part, things will be the same. People just they'll find secular reasons to have all the problems they have today. That's all.
Yeah. I was trying to get at that.
Yeah.
I feel well, as a Christian, I kind of disagree because, like, for example, because even if religion just like disappeared tomorrow, let's say we had no more churches or Buddhist temples or whatever, like I feel like you could say like the world could still be the same, but at the same, like, it's like they'll just find other reasons, like, to just like do this or do that. Like if Islam, like if all the Qurans were shut down tomorrow, I guarantee you, you know, it's not going to stop these people. Like not, and like I said, this is not going out to all Muslims, but like ISIS type figures, you know, are still going to do what they do. Just, you know,
for secular reasons. Yeah.
I know. I mean, Somali pirates, I mean, I think they're mostly Muslim, but I don't think their motives are religion.
Yeah.
But like so yeah, as a Christian, I don't completely agree with that. I mean, I just think, you know, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to explain, but yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I kind of first got into atheism. I think there might be some video evidence of it early in my channel. I don't know. But like when I first kind of got into the whole YouTube atheism thing, like I really did think that if you got rid of a lot of those like a lot of that kind of religious stuff, that, you know, things would get better and people wouldn't have religious biases towards things. But the more I'm kind of seeing like how atheism is getting, you know, it's out of the closet and it's okay now, I'm seeing a lot of people who are atheists who still kind of hold very conservative traditional values. And it's like, well, that didn't solve anything. They just have secular reasons for the things that they have. And if you're talking about in terms of a lot of these kind of Islamic cults, I mean, that's what a lot of these are. These terrorist groups, they're effectively what would be described as thought reform groups, like Scientology or whatever, that basically have like indoctrination, kind of almost hypnotic kind of techniques in order to brainwash people into wanting to die for their cause. So,
well, I mean, like for me,
people just have a secular religion to blow up a building. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just saying, like, we were talking about like conservatives, you know, like about atheists having atheists out there who have like conservative values. Are you referring conservatism as a whole, or just like fiscally conservative?
Oh, no, I'm not talking about fiscal stuff.
Oh, you're talking about full-on conservatism?
No, I'm talking about social conservatism, kind of like wanting to be which, by the way, like I've been slowly kind of been swayed by
abortion, pro-gun.
Abortion. Like I've been slowly kind of moving away from being pro-abortion. So, and I'm an atheist, so
Yeah.
Well, I'm a Christian. Well, I'm a Christian, but at the same time, I don't have a problem with gay marriage as long as like it's not forced upon the church or anything. If the church says no, they should have the right to say no. We're not going to marry you.
I'm fine with that.
As long as they don't go around forcing people to marry them, I'm okay with that. And that's the thing I get mad about like the atheist left, not the atheist right, but it's usually left-wing atheists. They like to paint like all Christians as like we're evil, we're Bible thumpers, you know, we abuse our children if they commit a sin. And I'm like, that's not true. I mean, like, I grew up with Christian parents, and like, I mean, yeah, I got my fair share of like ass kicks. Probably not a whole lot because I wasn't too much trouble, but at the same time, I mean, they weren't like hardcore religious abusers, like that stereotype they like to pull in people, like you see in the media and on TV and stuff.
Oh, is it?
I just never understood that.
It's also kind of weird that left-wing atheists kind of don't like any type of, they don't like parents to teach their kids any political philosophy, and they will call that indoctrination.
And another thing I've also learned about left-wing atheists, it's probably not all of them, but it's like when they come across a right-wing atheist, it's almost like you're not supposed to be a right-wing atheist. And when they come across a left-wing Christian or something, because there's the Christian left just like there's the Christian right, but the thing is, it's like they're like, no, that's wrong. All atheists are supposed to be on our side, and all Christians have to go to the right. Are you kidding me? I grew up in a Christian family. Yes, that was mostly, but it's mostly Democrat.
Yeah, like I kind of I had to learn that reality too, because I was dating a girl when I was in Kansas City when I was really into this stuff, and that was really one of the things that made me change my mind. Is she was like, "Come to church." Just come to my church one of these days. And I ended up going to church with her, and it was very much like very progressive. It was a very progressive church. And I was like, and there was a lot of people there. And I was like, oh, okay, well, apparently I was wrong about that.
Yeah, that's just what I don't understand. It's like, why are all Christian organizations being labeled as right wing? It's
Oh,
like, there's,
because actually, I may have the answer to that. I think it kind of had to do with Reagan a little bit because he did kind of pander
Moral
to.
majority.
Uh,
well, true, but yeah, you still had like famous Christian leftists as well. I mean, nothing wrong with that. I mean, I was kind of talking like a few weeks ago, I was with my dad and I was talking to him about this a little while ago because even though I'm a Christian, like there was a time where like I thought about converting to Judaism. Then there was one time I thought about converting to Buddhism, but like for some reason I always stuck with Christianity because I believe in God. I always felt like God always had a plan for me or something like that. But like there was something I have kind of noticed that like I don't know if you guys noticed this, but like something between like Christian leftists and the Christian right. I mean, I don't know if it's true or not, but like when you look at it, like I'll have to ask you, Jim G, just because your girlfriend asked you to go to church. What was it, a Catholic church?
No, no, no.
Okay, because like something I've noticed is that like it seems like the Christian left, I could be wrong. It tends to be like Catholic, Roman. They tend to be like Roman Catholic or Baptist, whereas like right wing Christians intend to be more Protestant or something like that.
Well, Baptist is a form of Protestantism.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
like,
like
but there's liberal and conservative factions of pretty much all kinds of different Protestant religions.
yeah, I've
Protestant
spoken to
Christianity.
yeah, it doesn't apply to everyone because my dad's a Catholic and he's a Reagan Republican and he's a Catholic and my mom, she's not into politics but she's a Methodist, but she came from her mother was strongly Democrat. My grandma, she's definitely Democrat.
I've spoken to really strong right wing Catholics, and they kind of hate their Pope a little bit.
I don't know. Well, my dad actually told me like when I was having this conversation with him, I think he says he sometimes feels like a Lutheran because like I was asking him about this, like because he's a Reagan Republican, and I asked him like, why does it seem to look like that, all the Catholics, well, not all the Catholics, but like the Christians who vote Democrat can tend to be Roman Catholic or Baptist, but like the Christians who vote Republican and tend to be Protestant. Um, why is that? And his answer was, well, because the Catholic Church in America always kind of seemed liberal to me. And this was a guy and my dad was raised in a Catholic family, and I think he went to Catholic school and everything, and he literally just sat there and told me, well, I think personally the Catholic Church in America has always seemed to be liberal. I don't know. I mean, like, I guess I don't know if that applies to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I don't know if they would like be liberal. I mean, they do have a lot of like socially conservative stuff, but they would surprise you with a lot of the stuff. Like if you just came into like the YouTube atheist world at the time, you would walk away thinking like, oh yeah, all Christians are creationists. And then you look at the Catholic Church, and like they're very much pro evolution, very pro science, and they've kind of always had a tradition of being that way.
Actually Richard Dawkins did talk to I forgot what the father name was, but he was a evolutionary biologist. Like
Yeah,
the father, I forgot what his name. They have a conversation with
well,
about evolution.
the lawyer that argued the Dover case. I don't know if you're familiar with the Dover case. That was when they were trying to they renamed it from creationism to intelligent design, and they were trying to insert it into schools again. It's about 10 years ago, and they had a case in Dover, and the guy who was arguing for evolution and against teaching intelligent design was a Catholic, a very devout Catholic, and he actually writes a lot of evolutionary biology textbooks that you get today. I forget the name of the guy.
Yes, yeah. Despite the infamous story of Galileo and the Pope, yeah, the Catholics seem to be really pro science.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think I ever heard any type of Protestant say anything like that. Maybe except for like the guy who formed Jamestown. Maybe he was into that kind of stuff because I think he was a Protestant or I think he was a Mormon. I don't know.
Hmm. Oh, the Mormon. Oh, the Mormon phase actually is quite interesting. Very interesting.
I don't know, but like other than like baptism, but yeah, but it does seem like Roman Catholics. I'm not all of them, but it seems like in America, like a lot of like Christians that do lean to the left, it's usually made up of Roman Catholic and Baptist. For like, or the rest of the Protestant people just seem to just lean to the right or vote Republican or something. I don't know. I could be wrong. It doesn't bother me or anyway, but it kind of got me curious.
Yeah, religion for the most part, doesn't really bother me too much. I think my real big problem with it in general isn't really about the religion part of it as so much as it is about dogma in general, which I have a problem with. I mean, that's the sort of things that people, the kind of ideas that people hold above their own, higher than themselves. That's when I start having problems with things.
Yeah, that's sort of like this is why I'm kind of skeptical that atheists are always going to kill religion. These YouTube atheists going to kill the religion because people are always going to be dogmatic, always going to be searching some type of dogma they can follow.
Yeah, to fill the hole.
Yeah, like let's say someone who's very dogmatic about libertarians. Let's say someone like Rothbard. Rothbard was considered to be very dogmatic, and it also kind of him resulting some form of intellectual dishonesty as well.
Yeah, there's been a lot of times where he's been kind of called out for not being very intellectually honest. Yeah. I think the most recent one that I remember was he was talking about how Ronald Reagan really didn't. Rothbard was trying to make the case that Ronald Reagan grew the size of government, and he did. But Rothbard's argument was that if you look at spending went up, but the spending was pretty much in kind of about the same as what you could blame easily on inflation. And Rothbard's kind of answer was, well, it has everything it's part of the government too, so it doesn't matter. And it's like, well, not exactly.
Well, I think during that time period, it kind of depends on like, who you ask. Cause like you could say like that all started under Nixon or LBJ.
Yeah.
But like, cause like, I don't know. I think that like, a lot of that stuff, I mean, like, it wasn't really much as Ronald Reagan as his vice president. Cause I always used to say like, I don't think Reagan was perfect. I think he was a good president, but I don't think he was perfect. But I think probably the worst mistake he probably did was hire Bush Sr. as his vice president, because I think a lot of the like I remember like that term he used, voodoo economics and stuff like that. Like I think he kind of played more of a role in that.
Does anyone know what George Bush called this in 1985? Anyone?
I wasn't alive before.
It was 1980.
Economics.
In 1980, but no, that was a term he used, voodoo economics.
Yeah. I was just kind of doing a Ferris Bueller thing.
I know. He was. Yeah, I was born when he was. He was president when I was born, but looking back, he was kind of a shitty president. Like that's like when he came to office. That was like the beginning of shitty presidents. I mean, I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say.
Wilson was pretty bad. Lincoln was pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, like, you had Reagan come in, and granted, like I said, I don't think Reagan was perfect, but like I think compared to the presidents like before and after him, on a 20 to 30 year scale, obviously he's the best out of all of them. But when you just think about it, it's like that was like the last time we kind of had a really good president, because then Bush Sr. comes in, because Reagan comes in, he does a lot of the deregulation, and no fucking Ron Paul fans, he did not raise taxes. Yes, he raised spending, but did not raise taxes.
Okay.
But then Bush Sr. comes in, and then like a lot of the deregulations he did as president, Bush Sr. comes in and starts regulating it up again. It's like, what the fuck? So like the only thing I can really say Bush Sr. was good at was like It's just being a good commander in chief. Because I guess when you look at Panama and Desert Storm, yeah, those conflicts didn't last very long. So yeah, that's almost just about it.
But to be fair, I mean, Jimmy Carter actually did a lot of good stuff in terms of deregulation as well. He was a shitty president, but he broke up the telecom.
Yeah.
He deregulated the airline industry a lot. But
Yeah.
Well, I think
did some
Jimmy
shitty
Carter,
things too. Yeah, did
well,
a lot
like,
of shitty things too. But
well,
yeah.
well, like here's the thing, like a lot of people I hear back then, like my dad was telling me this, like during the Carter years, like gas was like off the hook. It was like, what the fuck is going on? Why
Well,
the
actually, I think it was due to Nixon placing price controls on the gas. Actually,
yeah, I think that what happened is that Nixon did that, but then Jimmy Carter, well,
I was
after
gonna say, yeah, Carter probably did most of it though.
yeah, Jimmy Carter just kind of came in. Like I think you can say Nixon and Ford maybe started the fire, but I think Carter just came in and poured more gasoline on it.
Pun intended.
Something like that, yeah. On the like gas prices, because I remember just like hearing about like during the Carter years, like all these fucking gas lines and like prices were going up on everything.
well, it's probably due to the inflation as
Yeah,
well.
there was just like a lot of that shit going on, and it was just like, yeah, that was kind of why he only got one term. So yeah.
Yeah, just yeah. Ron Paul fans, he didn't raise the taxes. That's kind of funny to me.
Well, I have mixed feelings. Like I actually was, because even though I'm a conservative now, I used to be a libertarian, and I used to be somewhat of a Ron Paul supporter. But the problem was not him in general, because like I said, I didn't agree with everything that he said. But the problem I kind of had with him the most was some of his supporters who would like when I didn't agree with him on something, I'd get attacked for it, and I would say I'm not a true Ron Paul supporter. I'm not a true libertarian. This was back when I was a libertarian. I'm not anymore, but they would say, I'm not a true libertarian. I'm a fake. I'm a phony. Get out of here. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, no leader has been 100% right on everything. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, yeah, there were a lot of things I thought he was right on, but there were things I thought he was wrong on. Like, I did not agree with his international policies. I'm not saying I didn't agree with some of it. I just didn't agree with all of it. But when I went against it and I disagreed with it, like, oh my God, I was a neocon, I was a conservative or whatever. Get out of here, dude. And and I hate that word too. I think that word is just used as an insult now.
Neocon?
Yeah, because like
we're all been insults though.
I get called a neocon for stupid reasons, and I think like I don't even like being called a paleocon either, because like I don't give a damn about.
Kind of are a paleo conservative in a sense.
Because to me, a neocon should be another term for a progressive Republican or a rhino, like Teddy Roosevelt or George Bush. Like because of their progressive policies, not because of their fucking international policies.
Yeah, neocon actually is an ideology, and there actually is a history behind it, and not everything too. But yeah, I kind of agree that it's kind of turning into a word like Nazi, where it's just a meaningless kind of buzzword you just throw on someone just to dismiss them.
Well, neocons did have Trotskyite roots. And,
well, yeah, well, the neocons came from the left. Like what they were leftists in the '60s who were grossed out by the new left, like the hippies and all that shit, and they were grossed out by the way they were acting, the kind of degenerate culture, and so they started moving to start hanging out with the right, and they wanted them to implement some socialist policies, but still kind of be kind of right wing.
So that's pretty much what a neocon is. It's like, yeah, I'm going to adopt right wing politics, but I'm not going to I'm not going to abandon all of my left wing principles.
Yeah.
I'm going to like try to find a center or at least a 60-40.
And what is it? The Krausians kind of have a similar kind of story too.
Will you consider Reagan to be a paleocon in his first term?
Yeah, maybe.
Probably. I mean, I think the neoconish of his administration was his vice president. Like I said, because like I said, I'm not trying to put all the blame on him, but like I think like most of the problems that happened under his administration was because of him. Like I think he had more to do with Iran Contra than Reagan himself. I think Iran Contra was pretty much mostly Bush Senior doing behind the president's back.
Yeah.
But the buck stops here.
But
Well.
here. I mean, and just look at the guy's record, Bush Senior's record. It's pretty obvious he's going to be behind all that stuff anyway.
Yeah.
Just no surprise. Although I don't buy that conspiracy theory where there's that one conspiracy theory where Bush Senior was behind the Reagan assassination attempt. No, I think even if he was, he probably would have picked a better place to do it.
Actually, have you ever heard that conspiracy theory about the Bush family getting rich during World War II? Well, how they got rich during.
Prescott Bush.
Yeah.
I don't believe that either.
Yeah.
I used to be really a big believer of that when I was a liberal, and I never really checked it out afterwards, so I don't know.
Because, despite what I think of Bush Sr. as a president, I mean, why would Prescott Bush collaborate with the Axis forces while letting his son go off and fight them? Like, either he's stupid or he's just got no heart. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I think Bush Sr. is pretty crooked. He's got skeletons in his closet, but half the conspiracies about him, I don't believe them.
Oh, do you, Jim? Do you believe the conspiracy theories about George Soros?
I didn't think there was a conspiracy.
So there's no doubt that he does give money to left organizations. There's no doubt about that, but it's kind of interesting, just because that fact is true, people will just automatically assume anytime some kind of left organization springs up, oh, it's a Soros organization like Antifa. No, not always.
Well, no, I don't think it's the majority. It could be. I don't think it's like every single person, but I do think that he does.
It gets into some Glenn Beck territory when everything's connected to Soros.
Yeah.
But yeah, Soros does undoubtedly and provably so give all kinds of money to left organizations.
Yeah.
Well, he's probably also crooked. You can't make a lot of money if you're not crooked somehow.
Yeah.
Well, he's a cronyist who wants to use monopolies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just actually, I read a book by Rothbard. It was almost like reading a conspiracy theory book. He said the Rockefellers wanted protectionism from the Japanese or whatever.
I'm not familiar with that.
No, I think it's always been like that. He said the Rockefellers. Let's see if I remember correct, the United States placed sanctions, call it the oil from Japan, to favor the Rockefellers.
Are you talking from the Second World War when we cut off the oil?
Yeah.
Well,
I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. The Rockefellers now are kind of globalists.
I kind of doubt it. I mean, yeah, they do. They are like the Rothschilds in a way where they just want to buy up everything, buy up every politician to have a monopoly over everyone. But still, but according to some fascists, they're capitalists. Bullshit. They want monopolies over people. That goes against capitalism or free market or whatever you want to call it.
Everything that's not in my pure ideology is
okay. We'll just say that.
That's kind of how communists work. If it's not pure ideology, it's capitalism.
Plus, the sad thing is, under the classical Marxist definition, the Soviet Union wasn't the Marxist socialism.
Yeah, they say it's state capitalism,
which is kind of stupid, by the way. If your system is so backwards that you need to disavow it, maybe you need to rethink your system.
But you know what? I always this is how I kind of this is the kind of tact I've been going when anytime I talk to communists. It's like, all right, let's say that's true. Would you say that Lenin was trying to initiate a Marxist regime? A lot of time they'll say, yeah, like, oh yeah, he was trying to do that, but he failed. I'm like, well, can you show me an example where any of these attempts to create Marxist communism, which there have been many attempts by legitimately Marxist people, why has every single attempt failed?
Or
Do you
had,
think that maybe there might be a flaw in the system, not so much the flaw of the practice, or maybe the flaws in the practice are because of the ideology?
unless you're Vietnam and China and you have some type of reform after the biggest dickhead is no longer in charge.
Yeah.
Mao. Honestly, Mao and Pol Pot are quite possibly one of the worst.
Yeah, Vietnam and China. Well, no, Pol Pot was Cambodia, but Vietnam and China, they've had reform since, the main communist leaders.
Yeah,
Now,
all of them have had reforms, even North Korea.
now Vietnam makes cheap shoes, and that Nike can sell out overpriced.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because, it was like 10 years after the Vietnam War when they started their reforms. It's like, oh, you finally united the country. You got your communism all over the damn place. And, oh, it fucking sucks. We're now in the fucking 80s. Now we got to change. We got to reform.
Just it's sort of amazing, just amazing that their system can't work because we live in the world of scarcity.
I know. But it's funny how they say state capitalism, well, because they use profit, this and that. Well, okay, well, let me just say this. So-called capitalism are like, okay, well, because I know some people here don't like to consider themselves capitalists, but like private property and all that stuff, the term capitalism, that's been around for like, what, a few hundred years or so. Privatization and profit and all that shit and corporations, that goes back to thousands of years ago. So it's like, you're not making any sense.
Also, speaking of that, capitalism. Let's see.
Or just like classical liberalism, conservatism, libertarianism, those things haven't been around as long. So it's like you can't just say, oh, well, that they have corporations and they're profitable, that means they're capitalism. No. Like even to this day, even though Vietnam and China have had reforms, that doesn't make them capitalists.
Yeah. Actually, what I heard from Pol Pot was that he was I got this from Luis. He said he was what I can gather from it, Pol Pot was like a primitivist or whatever. Like he wanted everyone to live like farmers.
Yeah, he was like some kind of agrarian authoritarian.
He also really hated intellectuals, so much so that he would slaughter anybody who wore glasses because he thought that meant that they were smart.
Yeah, he was also like some kind of like of a Nazi communist in a way. Yeah, there's your true national socialism there too, or national communism, whatever you want to call it. Because like he would get rid of not just like the typical communist playbook where you get rid of the upper class, the educated, but he also got rid of certain ethnic groups. Like he didn't like the Vietnamese. So like all the ethnic Vietnamese people who were in Cambodia, he got rid of them. He got rid of I don't know, anyone who had a French background or something like that. So yeah, if you had any different kind of ethnicity that wasn't Khmer, yeah, you were pretty much done for it. You were either killed or sent to a labor camp.
Amazing. Yeah, man.
And they were pretty gruesome.
Yeah, the Khmer Rouge was terrible.
Yeah, and their methods were pretty bad too. Like they used electricity, plastic bags, you name it.
By the way, didn't we have some disagreement over North Korea?
About North Korea.
What was that? I forget.
I support the military intervention in North Korea.
Why?
Because for one, let's see, I'm getting tired of their just throwing a nuclear missile over Japan or South Korea, puffing their chest like big, acting like they're all big and bad. Plus, they're also enslaved their people, and just I think interventionism can be relatively successful if it is done right. But
And,
if my memory is correct, you said that interventionism will be a disaster because they will slaughter the people in those labor camps and it'll be a hostage situation.
Yeah, I think slave is a rather disingenuous word to call the most of the people that are in the North Korea, except for maybe Pyongyang. I think the correct word is hostage.
well, there is a term called counterterrorism and hostage rescue units.
Yeah. So,
Well, I mean,
have you checked out Michael Malice's book, Dear Reader, the unauthorized autobiography of Kim Jong Il?
I heard of it, but I haven't read it.
yeah, he was. I never read it, but like I can imagine what it's probably based on.
You should really sit down and read it because it's a fantastic book, and it starts out funny because they talk about all the crazy shit that they believe Kim Jong Il did and all that stuff. But as it kind of goes along, you really start to realize how like disgusting this world is, and how like methodically evil it is, and well thought, ingeniously evil that this group is, and what they do in order to kind of keep their people from revolting or anything like that.
It's funny you talked about. Go ahead.
So how it works over there, if you're a citizen of them, is what happens is you live there. You're very impoverished, unless you are one of the upper classes in Pyongyang. You are impoverished. You basically work a job. You don't get paid that much, if at all. I mean, if at all. I mean, you're probably starving most of the time. People eat dirt and rocks all the time, and what they do in order to maintain kind of people from not revolting, because if you did this in any other country and just said we're going to take over, you're going to do what you're going to do what we tell you, whatever, and that's it, what'll end up happening is people revolt and overthrow you. How they prevent this is really kind of methodical and evil. Is they have weekly meetings that they all come together and they all basically rat each other out and rat themselves out. Like, what have you done against dear leader today or this week? And if you don't say anything, someone else will rat you out for something. Like, oh, I saw him, he said God damn it when he found out he was out of food.
Jesus.
Yeah. And they basically
I heard similar stories about the Soviet Union.
Well, I just it's sad because like I remember studying about like when Kim Jong Il was in office. I mean, like his father was probably the same way, and probably so was his son. Like, while the majority of his people were starving to death, like he was just sitting in his suite. He was having lobster flown in. He was dining on French wine, and I think he was
loves movies.
I think he was one of. I think he was also one of Hennessy's top-paying customers. So it's just like, what the fuck, man? I mean, you can afford all that shit, but you're willing to not give some of it up to your people, which kind of explains, like how I feel. But as for like what to do about North Korea, I kind of have my own version, but like a lot of people may think it may be a little dangerous or too crazy.
But so here's that's not it. So so that kind of prevents any kind of possibility of uprising, because everybody's always constantly ratting each other out, and they have to come there. Everybody has to be guilty of something, and if you're not, they're going to suspect you of being part of any kind of a resistance movement.
Well,
on top of that, they try to get food to the people because they know that their system isn't working, and they're trying to kind of turn it into almost like a fascist regime now. They've almost completely abandoned Marxist style communism in favor of something that would be more similar to like Nazi Germany. But what they are trying to do is when they say these things like, Kim Jong-il found a unicorn, or he, golfed a hole-in-one. What that's doing is it's kind of getting everybody used to the idea that these people are insane, and they'll start firing off weapons. And what that does is it gets the United States, before Trump, I guess, what it does is it gets the United States and all the communities to come together and say, okay, we'll give you food so much as you don't use any more rockets for a while. And so they get food and they supply it to their people. And when that food starts running out again, that's when they start pumping out more crazy shit about, you know, how great Dear Leader is, and starts throwing off more rockets. It's a complete farce. And every time the media is going on about what's some new crazy shit, you know, the people of North Korea believes in, it's all just propaganda to try to get the Americans to give them more food. And so that's what all of this whole thing is. If the United States and South Korea were to attack them, they're going to be firing off all of their armaments at two things. They're going to be firing at their own camps, their own Nazi concentration camps style concentration camps they have there, and they're also going to be firing everything that they have at Seoul as well. And the whole point is that they're going to try to say, well, we'll stop so much as you start giving us back more economic aid at the same time. That's been their kind of tactic for the longest time, is that they know that they have a failed system. They can't support it going on. They can't allow any kind of real liberalizing regime at all, because once they do, people will revolt and they'll kill them. And almost every day, for Kim Jong-il used to go around and show people the Chucheska assassination tape and say, if we give up any bit of our power, that's going to happen to us. And that was what he would show his troops and his military advisors all the time. Like, this is what's going to happen to us if we give up any bit of power. And it's true. That's what will happen to them. Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing. Back to the point where you were talking about the UN giving them the food. You know, half of that food he ends up selling to keep his regime. And this is something that Japan needs to look into either. Because I don't know if you ever heard of the Yakuza. Do you know who the Yakuza is?
Yeah.
The Japanese mafia?
Yeah.
You know, the North Korean government does business with the Yakuza, because I don't know if you know about this, but there's this game in Japan. It's called Pachinko. And like a lot of these pachinko parlors are run by Yakuza members who are Zainichis, which are Koreans in Japan. And like they end up like gaining some money, and they like give some of that money to North Korea and help North Korea fund their nuclear capabilities and stuff like that. So part of me does kind of wonder why the Yakuza, why Japan doesn't crack down more on the Yakuza.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
interesting that
it's not all Yakuza crime families, but it is definitely some of them. And I just think they need to start cracking down.
it's kind of interesting considering how much hate the North Koreans have for Japan.
And same thing around. But like back to what you were saying, like, even if like collateral damage happens either way. I'm not saying it's something to be proud of, but it's like if you got a guy who's dicking around with his toys that are very dangerous. I mean,
Rocket Man.
Yeah, that kind of gives you the impression to say, yeah, we should probably need to have a talk and think about what are we going to do, because we don't know if this guy is going to get too drunk and actually press the button. Probably the only reason why he probably wants to, but the proper reason why he can't is because he's too damn short and he can't reach it.
Well, I wouldn't call you short or fat, Jim. Are you short? Are you actually short?
Oh. I'm fat, not short. No.
Yeah.
What are you, like 6 feet?
5'10", 5'11", somewhere in there.
I'm like 6'6" or 6'7".
Wait, you're that tall?
Oh shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, you wouldn't think I am, because, like, I don't know. I don't really know how tall I really am, but according to my dad, I'm 6'6", because I'm taller than him, and he's 6'5". But I have all these spinal cysts, but like, so I don't always feel like I stand up straight. So I may just look like I'm 6'2" one day, and one day I stand up completely straight. And yeah, I'm 6'6".
Yeah, I was wondering why you weren't hitting it rich playing basketball.
Because I'm not into basketball.
Yeah.
I'm not really into sports, but unless you count hunting and fishing, which they sell those stuff at sporting goods stores, but just hunting, fishing, paintball, and baseball. That's pretty much it.
Oh man.
I do like baseball, but I don't like football, golf, or hockey, or any of that stuff.
Hockey is best sports ball. I'll fight you.
Back on North Korea.
I like trap shooting.
It's it's kind of surprising how these extreme Marxist pinkies are really just apologize to North Korea. It's sort of
Well, here,
story.
well, here's another thing I was talking about because Jim Jesus was just talking about ratting people out, where they have to come together and rat people out. You know that ever since pretty much since the mid 2000s, like there are like these organizations who like literally smuggle stuff into North Korea, and not just like food, but like like Western and Japanese and South Korean like food, music, movies, and stuff like that. Little DVDs and stuff like that. Because if they were caught with that stuff, they would literally be either dead or in jail. But
Probably jail.
there's like there's literally like this group. I don't know what they're called, but they're based in South Korea. There's another group which I kind of wanted to talk about, if that's okay. If I could just, I don't want to rant, but I'll get to the first group. There's this one group that like they launch like balloons into the sky that have baskets in them, and they have like the baskets have like I don't know if they got like food or clothing or like movies or something that the people can have in North Korea.
I think there's like treats on it, but for the most part, it's a lot of media.
Yeah,
A lot of like TV shows and movies, just regular TV shows and movies, and that's very subversive because just the fact that people can see that, even poor Americans have basic things like a refrigerator.
I know.
Yeah.
But then there's this other group. I don't want to talk about this too much because then, like, I don't know, because like, let's say, I don't know, people like America, Japan, and South Korea comes across this idea, and like, I just don't want to talk about it too much. But there's this one group that nobody seems to talk about. They're based in South Korea. They're called the North Korean People's Liberation Front. It's basically a paramilitary group which is made up of North Korean defectors. Most of them are ex-North Korean military, ex-North Korean police officers, and ex-North Korean secret agents or whatever. And like they're like, and they like vow to one day return and overthrow the Kim dynasty. So what I'm saying is like, why don't we just like give these guys a bunch of weapons and send them over there, kind of like the Bay of Pigs invasion, except this time we make sure we're more successful and more covert about it. Because that was the problem with the Bay of Pigs invasion, is that like by the time we started it, everybody pretty much knew what was going on, knew what we were going to do. We were training a bunch of rebels made up of Cuban exiles to go overthrow Castro, and we knew we were going to land them. So like my suggestion is, instead of just like launching an invasion, why don't we just like retrain these guys, give them weapons in a covert secret place where nobody will notice, and then send them on a secret boat where the North Koreans won't detect them. They land in North Korea and just cause all chaos and shit amongst the North Korean military.
So
launch a guerrilla, just like it, land there and launch a guerrilla war.
you think what do you think China's gonna do if America tries to do something or try to use your plan?
My plan, as in like for as in launching those defectors to launch a guerrilla war.
Yeah, like I keep on wondering what's China's gonna do.
I don't know. Like my idea is we give this group Russian and Chinese weapons. That way we can say, that way if they get captured, they won't find any M16s or M4s or anything. So it's like the North Koreans can't be like, well, we can't blame the West because they're using Russian and Chinese weapons.
Just yeah, man, sure. I wonder what's
I mean, I'm just saying, it sounds like an idea. That way we don't have to invade. We can just like, I mean, these are ex-military and police officers, so they're probably already well trained. The best thing to do is just give them a quick refresher course with weapons, and then secretly sneak them in, and they can just launch a guerrilla war.
Do you think China will have a actually, what's China's role in North Korea's politics actually?
Like, what do you mean?
Like, I know they were financially supporting them that now, but what I heard, they're placing sanctions on them if they keep if they stop the nuclear testing.
I think Beijing and Moscow are always going to supply Pyongyang something no matter what. Even if they say they put sanctions, they're still going to supply them something behind our back. So it's like, I don't really think it matters. Now, as what China would do, I have no idea. But at the same time, I mean, like, if it's not, I don't think they may be concerned. I'm pretty sure of that, but I think as long as it's not American, Japanese, and South Korean soldiers on the ground, then they probably won't show as much concern. So all I can say is like it just depends on how much concern they're going to show. Because I know they talk about they don't want to deal with the migrant crisis. Well, hopefully, if the North Korean guerrillas, like the people I'm talking about, the People's Liberation Front, if they can just bring not just enough weapons but food and equipment, hopefully they can just like give it to people who are against the regime, and they can maybe gain support from the population or something.
Yeah, because that's China's real problem right now. That's why they're really kind of hesitant about doing anything, because they know that if anything happens, if shit goes down, they're going to be faced with a whole bunch of North Koreans coming in, and North Koreans have a really bad reputation around the area, even in South Korea, of being like redneck hillbillies.
Oh, that makes
undesirable.
That's kind of funny.
Another thing, this group I'm talking about, maybe if they're able to set up, like their own guerrilla camps and like have them surrounded in villages where they can protect people, then hopefully there may not be a big of a migrant crisis if they're able to get like all this, if they're able to bring in food and stuff for the hungry and win support of the population. And if they're able to, like, let's say, provide protection for these people where they're able to hold off the government forces, and hopefully it won't escalate that big. I'm sure it will to a certain extent, but hopefully that would, like, it won't escalate as bad as China claims it would.
Well, look at Europe. So they got pretty much good reason to expect that's going to happen.
And besides, like, if the Chinese cross the Yalu River to help Pyongyang, still that doesn't mean like it's all game over. Because remember, after the Vietnam War, China invaded Vietnam in 1979. It didn't turn out well for them, and they outnumbered the Vietnamese. It's just another thing I found stupid, but I won't get into it right now. But like whatever you guys want to say, I'll let you go.
Wait, you think the Chinese army is incompetent?
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean? I think incompetent? Like they're not effective?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they're effective to a certain extent because they have large numbers. So obviously, you're going to be effective in one way. I mean, you look at the Korean War back in the 50s; they showed to be pretty effective back then. But I think when you compare like the United States military to the People's Liberation Army, number one, the People's Liberation Army is not the official army of China. It's the official army of the Communist Party. So I know that may sound stupid. That may not make any sense. But when you don't have a national army, I think in some ways that can kind of go against you in many ways, because many people in China, especially the Chinese dissidents, will probably just look at them and say, well, they don't represent me. They don't represent China. So why should I care if a bunch of them die? So like, there's that. And then there's the experience, because, regardless of if you agree with the wars we get involved in with or not, the United States military is pretty cut and dry. We are far more experienced than they are, because the People's Liberation Army, the only time they ever go off to war is for UN missions in Africa, I think. Other than that, they're not really as much involved as we are. And like I said, regardless of if you agree with, what our involvements in other conflicts or not, I think that gives us an advantage, because that means we're more experienced. And just the fact that most Americans probably started shooting guns since we were freaking kids, where most of them probably didn't pick up a gun until they joined the military or police force. I could be wrong on that part, but still. But like, yeah, when you go up against a soldier who's probably been shooting a gun since he was a kid, yeah, he's probably going to be more. He's probably going to be very lethal and more effective than you are if you didn't pick up a gun till you joined the military or the police, like I said.
Yeah. By the way, I got to get going in a little bit.
Okay.
I was about to end the podcast anyways. So
Okay.
thanks for coming on.
I'm sorry if I rant too much.
Oh no, you're great.
You're a good guest, man. I like having you on. Please shout yourselves out.
I guess that means I go first.
All right, I'll go last because I'm always the one who goes last, so I'll just do that.
Yeah, you can follow me at Jim Jesus on Twitter. I'm on Facebook as James Alexander IV. I'm sure if unless you're friended to some libertarian, you're not going to find me. I got a podcast, lawbirds.com, YouTube channels, youtube.com/Mach1, MACHWON. If you need to find any of these links, you can just go to jimjesus.com. It has everything there.
Okay. Well, I'm Soldier 7, but like I said, I don't make political videos on my channel. If you want to see all my political stuff, go to Right Wing Federation. Pretty much everything I post, pretty much every video that's been posted in the last year has pretty much all been done by me. So yeah, if you want to look at my videos that are political, go to Right Wing Federation.
Okay, people.
Later.